Chapter 1. Beginning. Shouts and yells were heard in the waiting area in which a young, blond boy and a white-haired man were sitting. The boy's hair was long and spiky, just like his father's. His sharp, azure blue eyes looked at the door in front of them in worry. The boy was wearing a dark blue, short-sleeved shirt with a red spiral in the middle and black pants. He also wore black sandals. The boy was 4 years old and his name was Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, son of Namikaze Minato, the 4th Hokage, and Uzumaki Kushina. The man, who was sitting next to Naruto, was his godfather, Jiraiya, one of the 3 legendary Sannin and the Toad Sage. The two of them were in a hidden cave which was known only for a handful of persons. You could ask why they were here. Well, Kushina was pregnant again. This time they would receive a daughter. As the two waited until either Minato or Tsunade would come out to get them, they heard a scream followed by Minato's curse. While Naruto didn't know what was happening, Jiraiya quickly stood up and rushed into the room. When he entered, he saw a cloaked man holding Naruto's sister with a kunai held to her throat. On the other side of the room, Minato and Tsunade were standing in front of Kushina, who was looking very tired. "Minato, what is going on here?" shouted Jiraiya, wanting to know who was attacking them, but Minato ignored his sensei and tried to calm their attacker. "Please, calm down, there is no need to do that," Minato told the cloaked figure, but all he got was a shout of, "I am as calm as I can get," from the cloaked person. In the next moment, the cloaked man threw Naruto's sister into the air and prepared to stab her, but before he could do it, Minato appeared next to her and jumped back. Suddenly, he heard a hissing sound and looked at the blanket that was covering his daughter. With fast thinking, he used his most prized technique and teleported into one of his safe houses, leaving the 2 Sannin with Kushina and the cloaked person. Jiraiya turned to Tsunade and nodded to her, and she rushed at the man who simply phased through her punch like a ghost. Suddenly, Jiraiya was in front of the man with a Rasengan in his right hand and tried to hit the cloaked man, but it happened the same thing as with Tsunade. "Humph, I thought that the two of you would be a bit better," the cloaked person said and rushed at Kushina, with his right hand extended, but right as he about to touch her, he phased through her again as Tsunade tried to punch him in back of his head. The cloaked person jumped back and made a set of hand seals pointing at Tsunade and Kushina. Katan. Great Fireball Jutsu. The cloaked person exhaled a large orb of fire which flew directly at Kushina and Tsunade. Jiraiya was about to start his own hand seals, but then everyone heard another voice. "Suetun, Water Wall Jutsu." Naruto shouted and spat out a large amount of water in front of his mother and godmother, protecting them from the fire jutsu. Naruto suddenly took out a kunai and threw it at the cloaked figure. As expected, the knife passed through him, but no one expected Naruto to suddenly substitute with the throwing knife and punch the man in the head. To everyone's shock, Naruto's punch didn't phase through the cloaked person. The cloaked man stood there for a second in shock before he released a groan and turned around and hit Naruto with an uppercut to the young boy's abdomen, which made Naruto spit out blood and salvia. As Naruto slid of the man's arm and hit the floor, the last thing before everything went black was the cloaked man grabbed his mother, and they both vanished in a swirl. 1 year later. 1 year has passed since one of the most tragic days of Konoha. Exactly 1 year ago, the great Kyubi no Yoko, the greatest and strongest of the tailed beasts, attacked Konohagakure no Sato. Many people died in the fight with the beast, but there were only 3 people who Naruto cared about. The first one was his mother, who died after having the Kyubi extracted from her, but not before helping in sealing the beast again. The other one was his father, who died protecting the village by summoning the Shinigami and sealing the tailed beast. The last one was Naruto's little sister, who died because of a heart attack caused by the Kyubi's killing intent focused on her. 1 year after Naruto's family died, he was heartbroken. Everything he loved died in one night. His parents while sealing the beast. His sister, for who he waited a whole year because of the beast. His godfather had almost no time to stay in Konoha as he had to maintain his spy network since the leaf was weakened now. His godmother had become the hospital head and had almost no time to be with him in these hard times. His grandfather figure, Sarutobi Hiruzen, become the Hokage again, and he had to take care of his family and the village as well. But that didn't keep Naruto down for too long. He realized that crying will not help with anything. Since then, he started to train, every and single moment he had for himself, he spent training. Either training physically, learning new taijutsu katas, learning new ninjutsu, learning fuinjutsu from his father and mother notes, or even simply reading about everything about being ninja. He did it all because every time he remains himself about the dreadful night, he always comes to the same conclusion about the fight. He was useless. He couldn't protect the people he loved. He was weak. That was the reason why he trained so hard those days. It also helped to have an older brother figure who was a Jonin and often could give him some tip and advice. And now here he was, sitting in a classroom, full of kids who were hoping to become ninjas of the leaf. Naruto wouldn't say that he was antisocial, but sadly he couldn't remember any of their names. Well, while he didn't know anyone, everyone knew him since he was the son of the Yondaime. Of course, like every popular boy, he had his fan club, which he rather would like to avoid for some more time. As their sensei entered and started the lecture about the history of the leaf, Naruto dozed off. He knew it already and the teacher knew it, because every exam they had him write, he always scored a 100%. That was the reason why Naruto didn't bother to listen to the teacher. Besides, he had better things to do. As Naruto closed his eyes, he started to replay the night of Kyuubi attack. Naruto often did that, so that he can analyze the fight again and again. He didn't know why, but the ability of the cloaked person was intriguing Naruto to no end. The ability to phase through people, jutsu, and walls. It was a crazily powerful ability. If he could be able to replicate it, he would be always able to protect the people he loved. But first, he needed more knowledge on fuinjutsu to be able to do something like that. For now, he had to focus on the basics. Chapter 2, Team. The summer came quickly in Konoha this year. The sun shone brightly, and the slight breeze didn't do anything to cool the temperature down. It was Sunday noon, and the giant star was at its highest above Konoha. As many students in Konoha Ninja Academy started to go out on the academy training ground for a break, one particular blonde boy was home, or more precisely in his family training ground, which was surrounded by various seals which prevented anyone from outside to see what was happening on the field. Naruto, who was wearing only black shorts and black shinobi sandals, was panting heavily while lying on his back with closed eyes. The now 5.5 years old academy student has just finished another training session. For the last 6 months, the blonde Uzumaki has been learning his father taijutsu style, the hummingbird style, which concentrated on lighting fast and precise attacks. The main problem with the style was that while Naruto was fast for his age, he was nowhere near as fast as he needed to execute most of the moves. That was the reason why Naruto has started to wear gravity seals which were designed by his father to expand his speed. Thanks to the Uzumaki healing factor, Naruto didn't get soreness, so he could train every day without worrying to destroy his muscles. With this, Naruto decided that since he could spend the whole day training and not only half when he was attending to the academy, the last Namikaze decided that he would send a shadow clone to take his place in the academy. As Naruto lay there on the ground, he started to think about all that happened in the last months. Thanks to his previous training with Minato and Kushina, and now to his own training regime, Naruto was always at the top of his class in the academy. There was no one in his class, or even the higher classes. Uchiha Itachi graduated the year that Naruto entered the academy, who could rival in the Namikaze abilities. That, of course, gained Naruto even more fangirls and even some fanboys. Thanks to being the best in the whole academy, Naruto quickly gained himself the title of a prodigy and genius. Of course, there were only a handful of people who understood the difference between these two titles. A child prodigy is someone who does things normal people do, but at an unusually young age, whereas a genius does things that extremely few other people can do at all. In Naruto's opinion, he wasn't a genius, a prodigy, yes, but not a genius. Naruto hated it when some civilians would compare his oh-so-mighty genius to his own father, who was also dubbed as genius. The last time Naruto was shopping groceries, he overhears some Chunin comparing him to the Uchiha prodigy. Now, that got Naruto's interest. With the thought of having another prodigy to compare himself to, Naruto asked the Chunin about the said Uchiha. Sadly, he is informed that the now-known Itachi was already Genin, and it was very rare to find the boy outside a mission or while he was training. With the knowledge that most likely he wouldn't find the Uchiha, Naruto shrugged the matter of and went back training. After all, the two of them would meet one day. Clearing his head of thoughts, Naruto got up and went inside to take a shower, grab some money, and go out for lunch. 5 minutes later, Naruto was walking down the street of Konoha with hands in his pockets. He was now also wearing a black t-shirt with the Namikaze clan's crest on the back. As Naruto passed another shop, he heard a familiar voice inside. Deciding to see who it was, the Namikaze boy entered the shop, which turned out to be a dango shop. As the blonde academy student looked around, he found Kakashi sitting with 5 other teenagers. As Naruto was about to leave, he heard Kakashi call to him, and when he looked over to where the group sat, he saw Kakashi waving to him and inviting him to join. As Naruto neared the group, he got a closer look at the other persons. They all looked to be Kakashi's age, which was 15. One of them was a male who had bowl cut and was wearing green spandex under a Chunin vest, while his high-tie was used as a belt. The person had black hair and matching eye color. From the descriptions that Kakashi gave the young boy, that would be the Umbu's best friend and self-proclaimed lifetime rival, Mike Guy. The next one was another male who had black hair and brown eyes. He wore the standard Konoha ninja uniform with the sleeves rolled up halfway, Chunin vest, regular shinobi sandals, and high-tie on his forehead. He had a cigarette in his mouth and 3 hairs on his chin. He was the son of the Sandaime Hokage and one of the rare futon users in Konoha, Sarutobi Asuma. The next person was a kunoichi in the regular Konoha uniform and a Chunin vest as well. She had long raven black hair and red eyes. She had also red lipstick on her lips. She was an upcoming Jinjutsu mistress, Yuhi Kurenai. The next one was also a female who had her violet hair in a spiky ponytail. She had light brown, pupilless eyes, wears a fitted mesh bodysuit that covers her from her neck down to her thighs. Over this, she wears a tan overcoat with a purple inseam and a pocket on each side, a dark orange miniskirt, a dark blue belt, and pale gray shin guards. The exapprentice of Orochimaru of the Sannin, Mitarashi Anko. The last one was older than the rest of the group. He was 18 years old, male with brown, shoulder-length hair which hangs about his face and brown eyes. He wears his forehead protector like a bandana and the standard Konoha uniform with Jonin vest. Naruto also spotted a senbon in his mouth. He was one of the elite bodyguards for important daimyo who come to Konoha, Shiranui Ginma. Yo, Naruto, how is it going? Kakashi asked whilst reading his book when Naruto finally was close enough while the rest of the group made a place for the academy student to sit down and greeted him. Nothing much, just came out to eat something. The last Namikaze answered as he ordered some dango. After a moment, everyone was talking again until a thought came across Kurenai's mind. Shouldn't you be at the academy, Naruto-kun? Asked Kurenai, looking at the young boy on her left. The blonde boy looked at her strangely and shook his head. I am at the academy, or more like my shadow clone is. I realized that I can get more training done while my clones attended the school, he said, shocking everyone besides Kakashi, who looked at his friend with amusement. Why you can do shadow clone jutsu and still go train? Anko shouted. She couldn't understand how a 5-year-old bow could use a Jonin Kenjutsu and still go train like it was nothing. Naruto-san, how many shadow clones can you create? A curious Gunma asked, and a few seconds later the blonde's answer floored everyone besides the silver-haired Jonin. Well, I can create 6 and then still go train, but if you ask me about the maximal amount I can do, then it would be 14, the boy answered with a smile while closing his eyes and tilting his head to the side, making Kurenai suddenly squeal. How cute. The Chunin squealed and suddenly everyone's eyes were on her, making her blush in the embarrassment and look away, getting a few chuckles around the table. YSH. Naruto-kun's flames of youth shine brightly. We must have a friendly spar, Onadi, fan our flames of youth even brighter, shouted Guy while pumping his fist into the air, making everyone around the table to sigh while Naruto's sweat dropped. Nuh. Kid, do you know your chakra affinity? Asuma asked while exhaling smoke from his lungs. Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment, but then shook his head. The Namikaze watched as Asuma took out a small piece of paper and handed it to Naruto. Channel your chakra into it, the smoking teen said. When Naruto channeled his chakra into the piece of paper, it crumbled at a small ball, and when Kakashi was about to tell the result, the small ball soaked suddenly, making all the shinobi present look wide-eyed. Holy shit, this kid has got 2 chakra affinities. Anko shouted out, gaining attention from a few civilians and ninjas around. That would be right, Kakashi said to himself, but Genma still heard him. What do you mean, Kakashi? Asked the oldest shinobi in the group, making Kakashi give them all an eye smile. I could tell you this, but he trailed off, making the group inch closer to him. But they all asked in unison. But it's a secret, said the one-eyed Jonin with another eye smile, making everyone face fault. The group has spent some time speaking and eating, but after half-hour Naruto decided to head back to his home to train. 6 months later, Konoha Academy. When children in Konoha decide that they want to become ninja, they all have to graduate from the academy. Most children coming from clans enter the academy at the age of 7 because they are given 1 year to train with their families, while clanless students have to join at the age of 6. Of course, there are many cases where the children join the academy at a younger age. Hatake Kakashi, Uchiha Itachi, Namikaze Naruto. The students then spend 6 years at the academy learning and training to prepare themselves for the lives of shinobi in their world. It was a well-known fact that not everyone that enters the academy will pass. There are always some dropouts who are not fit to become shinobi. But even with the fact that there are some dropouts, there are also some academy students who excel and are allowed to graduate earlier. Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Kushina, Namikaze Naruto. Naruto, who now is 6 years old and was wearing long black pants, long-sleeved black shirt with the Namikaze crest on the back, and his hitai 8 on black cloth tied around his forehead, was sitting in a class full of 12 years old. He was the only of his class and the whole academy to graduate earlier this year. As the blonde Namikaze heir sat in the class, he couldn't help but smile with pride at himself. Obviously, there was a good reason to be proud of himself. He graduated from the academy at the same age that he should have joined the school. Now add to this fact that he graduated only after 1 year, and the whole village is speaking about you. 2 minutes later, a Chunin, who was the teacher of the current class, entered the class and started to read the team placement. Naruto muted him off until he heard his name being called. Namikaze Naruto, due to an unforeseen accident, Sandaime-sama decided to place you on a team with a Jonin and 1 Chunin. They told me to tell you to meet them at the training ground 28, said the Chunin, and after he ended the team placement, Naruto used Shunshin to leave the academy. Training ground 28. As Naruto entered the training ground, he saw 2 figures sparring in a clearing. Deciding to watch for a while, the blonde genin sat down under a tree and observed. From what he could see, one of them was wearing a standard Jonin uniform with a blue long-sleeved shirt and pants. He had short black hair and black eyes. The last thing Naruto saw was the Uchiha crest on the back of the Jonin vest. The second person looked younger than the first. He has onyx eyes, under which were long, pronounced tear troughs. He had jet black hair that was pulled back in a low ponytail, and his face was framed with center-parted bangs that extended to his chin. He was wearing a black shirt with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back, bandages around his ankles, and black sandals. He wore tan pants with a weapons pouch strapped to his back. A few minutes later, the two ended their spar and turned to Naruto. Namikaze Naruto? Asked the older one, making Naruto answer with a nod. Then I think introductions are in order, he said with a grin. My name is Uchiha Shursui, and I am 11 years old. I have been Jonin for the last 3 months. My likes are dango and good training, and I dislike traitors. My hobbies are training with my best friend, Itachi, said the now-known Shursui, and then turned to the younger one. My name is Uchiha Itachi, and I am 8 years old. I have been a Chunin for 3 weeks. I like good sparring, onigiri, cabbage, and dango. My dislikes are steak and traitor. My hobbies are training and visiting traditional Japanese cafes, said Itachi. My name is Namikaze Naruto. I have been Jinin for 1 day. My likes are ramen, playing shogi, and training. I dislike fangirls and go. My only hobby is training, said the blonde. Alright, so now that we got done introductions, we can begin with a small spar to see how strong you are. After the match, we can set a few formations and work on them for the rest of the week. What do you say? Shursui asked with another grin, and the 2 younger ninjas nodded. Before we begin, what type of ninja are you, Naruto? I myself am a Kenjutsu ninjutsu fighter, while my Jinjutsu is good and my Taijutsu could be a bit better. My chakra affinity is fire, and I am good with wind chakra, the Jonin stated. I am good with Taijutsu and Ninjutsu, and I use often Kunai in close combat. My chakra affinities are lightning and water. I am adept with Jinjutsu, but I have no Kenjutsu training. I am also learning Fuinjutsu, and I am already on 4th of the 10 levels. What about you, Atakasan? Asked the blonde, turning to the young Uchiha heir. I am a Jinjutsu and Shurikenjutsu specialist, but I am proficient with Ninjutsu and fluent with Taijutsu, but I also have no former Kenjutsu training. My chakra affinities are wind and lightning, the Chunin answered. So what do you say about a light spar, Itachi Naruto? Just don't kill each other, joked the oldest of the group as the two walked over to the middle of the clearing. The two boys created some space between each other and waited until Shui called the match. Begin. They heard the oldest member of the team shouted and rushed at each other. The two met in the middle of the clearing, their right forearms clashing with each other, while Itachi held Naruto's left fist. They tried to overpower the other until Naruto dropped down to the ground and launched a sweep kick. Itachi jumped over the kick, and when he landed, he tried to kick Naruto with a roundhouse kick, which Naruto blocked and retaliated with a right hook to Itachi's chin, which connected, shocking the Uchihas. As Itachi stumbled back, he activated his Sharingan, making 1 tomo spins in each eye. I can't underestimate him, he thought, and jumped back just in time as Naruto's roundhouse kick flew centimeters away from the Uchiha's temple. While being in midair, the Uchiha made a quick hand seal sequence. Katon, great fireball jutsu. He spat out an orb of fire which flew at the 6-year-old boy, who started doing his own hand seals. Suetun, water wall jutsu. Water created of the moisture in the air erected in front of Naruto, just in time to be hit by the ball of fire. As the two jutsu clashed, the fog was created, obscuring Naruto's vision for a moment, which Itachi needed to attack. The Uchiha appeared in on Naruto's left and hit him with a backhand to face, which made Naruto's head to turn, and as Itachi was about to continue, another Naruto jumped from behind Itachi with a kunai in his hand. A clone, thought the Uchiha with wide eyes. The Uchiha turned around and used his own kunai to block the attack, but on contact, the kunai and Naruto dispersed into lightning, shocking Itachi. Before he could do anything, the Naruto from behind kicked him in the back with a back kick, sending the Uchiha away. Shui, who was watching the fight from afar, whistled to himself. That's some good tactics, he thought, seeing how Naruto tricked the Uchiha. As the younger from the two Uchiha stood up, he made a single hand seal. When Naruto tried to rush at the Uchiha, he found out that vines started to rise to form the ground, restricting him. He looked over to Itachi to the older boy to change into dozen of crows, which flew at Naruto. Jinjutsu, he thought, and bit his lip to cancel the illusion, just in time to see the crows change into shuriken. The blonde boy quickly made a single hand seal and substituted with a log. Naruto looked around, trying to find Itachi from his hiding spot, but soon stopped when he felt the cold metal on his throat and heard Itachi's voice. "Give up," he said, making Naruto sigh and surrender. "Well, that was some fight. You both truly deserve the title of a prodigy," Shui said as he walked over the two boys. "So, now that we know some of your abilities, we can go get some lunch and talk about our formations and tactics," he said. And so the three new teammates left the training ground. Chapter 3. Escort. 1 month has passed since the formation of Team Shui, or like the Konoha's population liked to call them, Team Prodigy. The reason why they were called was that all 3 members of the team were prodigies in their own areas. For Naruto, it was Taijutsu, Fuinjutsu, and Ninjutsu. For Itachi, it was Jinjutsu and Shurikenjutsu. For Shui, it was Kenjutsu and Ninjutsu. While the 3 shinobi were training for the last month, the news about such a team reached even the village hidden in the mist, which was the most isolated of the great 5 hidden villages. But is there something to be surprised of? It is not every day that a team full of prodigies is formed. Add to it the fact that 2 of them are Uchihas, and the third one is the son of the Yondaime Hokage. As for the team, the first week they spend on training together and creating various formations for all types of fights. Of course, They all trained individually as well to become stronger, and since they all were good in one or two fields, they helped each other out, becoming stronger even faster. In the second week, they started doing drank missions, seeing how Naruto needed to gain the experience to be allowed to get a cranked mission. So the second week went with training and doing the chores. When the third week rolled in, they were finally allowed to do some easy crank missions, where most of them were some simply drank mission but outside Konoha. The fourth week was also spent doing cranked missions, but this time, they got a mission which included fighting. They were sent to deal with bandits that harassed a nearby village. It was also the first time that Naruto had to kill. Flashback. Team Shursui waited quietly in bushes, observing the camp full of bandits. As they waited for a good opportunity to attack, Shursui turned to look at his two companions. All right, remember what I said before. Stick together and look for each other backs. We know that there are about 60 of them, but it is possible that there is a missing nin or some samurais. Better be safe than sorry, whispered the Jonin, getting two nods from the younger members of his team. How do we enter? Asked Itachi, who already had his Sharingan activated, as did Shursui. The older Uchiha was quiet for a moment until he answered. We will go with Formation D. Remember, the mission said that we have to exterminate them all, reminded Shursui. They waited for another 10 minutes until Shursui nodded to Naruto, who went through hand sails at lightning pace, and then inhaled. Suiton, water platform. Naruto spat out a stream of water which started to create a small platform of water under the camp, but before anyone could see it, Shursui made several hand seals. Megan, false surrounding illusion, the older Uchiha said, making the water disappear from the bandits' view. They turned to Itachi, who just finished his own sequence of hand seals. Raiton, lightning current. Itachi shouted and touched the platform made of water and pushing his chakra through it, making the electricity to course through the water, shocking all the bandits. The combo was rewarded with multiple cries of pain and curses from the bandit camp. Let's go, Shursui shouted, and the three jumped out from the bushes. By the time they were by the first bandit, the rest of the camp was out of their shock, which slightly surprised the group, seeing how this was supposed to make them shocked much longer. As they neared the first two bandits, Shursui took out his tanto and quickly slashed at the bandit's throat, killing the first, while Naruto took out a single shuriken and threw it, hitting the other bandit perfectly into the throat as well. They saw a group of 3 bandits with swords rush at them from left. I will take care of them, said Itachi, and started going through a set of hand seals. When they were close enough, he exhaled large orb of fire which burned the 3 bandits. Naruto and Shursui went against a group of bandits who were brave enough to attack them, making quick job of them. When they were about to join Itachi, they had to jump away as 3 spikes of earth tried to impale them. When they looked over to where it came from, they saw a male bandit who had a kunai and was smirking at them. Well, who do I got here, said the bandit, who Shursui now recognized. Ryu Sajuro, a branked missing nin from a Wagakure, Shursui said, preparing for a fight. Juro grinned at being recognized. Well, I don't know who the hell you are, but this brat has to be the son of the Yellow Flash, Juro said, and started to walk towards the 2 of them. Naruto, take the bandits. I got him, Shursui said, getting a nod from the youngest member of Team Prodigies. HN, do you really think you can match me, brat? The missing nin shouted and rushed at Shursui with a single kunai. Seeing the older shinobi rush him, the Uchiha took a defensive stance and blocked the first attack, dodged the following thrust, rolled away as Juro tried an axe kick to his collarbone and ducked under a spinning kick. Seeing an opening, Shursui trusted his tanto at Juro's chest, but the missing nin parried the attack and got inside the Uchiha's defense. Juro launched an uppercut to Shursui's gut, and the moment his fist connected, Shursui vanished, springing the missing nin. Suddenly, he heard Shursui's voice behind him. Shunshin no Jutsu. The missing nin tried to turn around, but at the moment he moved his head, he felt a searing pain in his chest. Looking down, he saw the tip of Shursui's tanto. I am possible, Juro said in disbelief as he looked the sword with wide eyes. After a moment, Shursui took out his weapon and murmured under his breath. That is what happens when a Chunin goes against a Jonin, he said, and was about to rush into the fight until he felt his shinobi instinct scream at him. He turned around to see a shouting bandit rush at him with a katana. Shit, was the only thought of Shursui, but before he could anything, he saw a kunai fly past him and hit perfectly into the man's forehead, killing him instantly. The Jonin looked to where the knife came from and saw Itachi with his right hand still outstretched. The two nodded to themselves and went to finish the rest of the camp. Flashback end. Now we find our three prodigies walking towards the Hokage's office since the Sandaime Hokage wanted to meet with them for their next mission, which was confusing since they took all of their mission from the mission assignment room. As the group walked the streets of Konoha, Naruto couldn't help but ask, "Nay, Itachi, Shursui, do you know what type of mission the Sandaime might have for us?" He asked as the unusual team neared the Hokage Tower. "Honestly, I have no idea, but it must be pretty important if he wants us to meet with him," Shursui informed, getting a nod from Itachi. Soon the trio entered the Hokage office and waited for their leader to speak. "Good morning, boys," said the old leader from his place behind his desk, which was full of unfinished paperwork. "Good morning, Hokage-sama," the three young ninjas answered in unison, making the Hokage raise an eyebrow and smile slightly. "Please take a seat. We have some things to discuss," Hiruzen said. A few moments later, the three ninjas were seated in front of their leader, who by now gave them all a cup of tea. "As you all know, news about your team have spread some time ago. And while people are not talking about your achievements, more about your backgrounds, you boys got pretty famous. That is the reason why many clients wish to hire you, so they can see how strong your team is," the third Hokage said, getting nods from Team Shursui. Hiruzen couldn't help but chuckle seeing the three boys watching him quietly, not daring to speak without permissions. "I have a mission for you three, an A-ranked mission. While I would never allow a Chunin or even most Chunin on A-ranked mission, I know that the three of you will be able to do it. Do you accept?" he asked seriously. The three boys looked at each other for a second and then turned back to the Sandaime. "Yes, Hokage-sama," they said once more in unison, getting a few snickers from the ANBUs guarding the room, making Hiruzen's eyebrow to twitch that his personal protectors were so easily distracted. Clearing his throat, Sandaime took out a scroll from his desk and handed it to Shursui. "Your mission is to meet with the Kazekage, his daughter, and his personal escorts at our border and ensure that their trip to Konoha is without any incident. Do you have questions?" asked Sandaime as he took a sip from his teacup. "Forgive me, Hokage-sama, but how many escorts does the Kazekage has with him?" Itachi asked. "Kazekage has 4 ANBU-level shinobi with himself," the old man answered. "Why does Kazekage come to Konoha, and for who should we be prepared?" asked Shursui. "Kazekage comes here to discuss the details of our new alliance treaty and the upcoming Chunin exams," explained Hiruzen. "About who might attack you, I don't think any bandit will try anything. But there is always a possibility that an arrogant missing mean will try to attack you. Some may try to kill the Kazekage, some to steal his daughter and sell her," the old man said, getting nods from the three. "What about the daughter?" Naruto asked, making everyone look at him. He turned his head sideways to hide his mild blush. "Hey, that is also intel," he reasoned, making the rest chuckle and in Hisui case to laugh. "Her name is Sabaku no Temari, the oldest child of Kazekage. From what I can remember, she is 5 by now and is coming here to see how politics are dealt with," the old man answered and dismissed the team, who used Shunshin to appear outside the Hokage office. "All right, the Kazekage and his escorts are supposed to be at the border in 2 days. Go homes and pack for a week-long mission. We are meeting at the gate in 30 minutes and will be heading towards the border at a bit slower pace. If everything goes right, then we will have a night to rest before the Kazekage arrives," Shursui said, and after getting affirmative from his team, they dispersed. 2 days later, Wind and Fire Country border. Team Shursui have just finished their quick breakfast and were going towards the location they were supposed to meet with the Kazekage. Once they entered the clearing, they had to wait a few minutes until they saw a carriage pulled by a horse, which was led by the front ANBU. There were 3 other umbu, one on each side and one on behind. A few moments later, the carriage stopped, and the front ANBU walked over to the middle of the clearing, as did Shursui. The Uchiha took out the mission scroll and gave it to the ANBU, who inspected it, and he opened it. After reading the whole scroll, He gave it back to Shursui and nodded to the Uchiha. My codename is Taka, leader of the Team Alpha. These are Gamma, Tanuki, and Tokage. Kazekage-sama and Temarissima are inside the carriage, Taka said, getting a nod from Shursui. My name is Uchiha Shursui. Those two are Uchiha Itachi and Namikaze Naruto, the leader of Konoha's team said. Suddenly the door of the carriage opened and the Kazekage came out with his daughter following him. Seeing their leader in front of them, the four ENBU quickly knelt in front of the wind shadow. Kazekage-sama, they shouted in unison. Seeing the leader of Sunagakure, Team Shursui bowed to the older man, showing their respect. So Hokage-sama did send my requested team for the mission. I haven't truly believed that he would do it, but that is good, Raza said. It's an honor to meet you, Kazekage-sama, Shursui said, making Naruto and Itachi nod, making the Yondaime Kazekage raise an eyebrow. From what I heard, you are the only one who speaks openly in your group, Raza commented, making Shursui grin. You see, Kazekage-sama, we decided that only one should act as the leader of the group and as the oldest and for now the strongest member of our team. I was chosen, the dark-haired Jonin answered honestly, making the Kazekage raise an eyebrow once again. What do you mean by saying for now the strongest, Shisusen? The auburn-haired ninja asked curiosity. Well, you see, Kazekage-sama, both Itachi and Naruto are learning at an amazing pace. I would say give or take 3 years, and they will surpass myself, the Sharingan user said, surprising the leader of Sunagakure. He turned to the two boys. Itachi-san, Naruto-san, how old are you two? Asked the Yondaime Kazekage, making the two boys to look at Shursui, who nodded, allowing them to answer. I am 8 years old, Kazekage-sama. Itachi was the first who answered the question. I am 6 years old, Kazekage-sama, Naruto answered honestly, making the Sunagakure leader be even more shocked. He is only 1 year older than Temari, and he is already a genin taking on A-ranked missions, thought Raza in his mind, not being able to comprehend how strong someone so young could be. Before anyone could say something, they all turned to a new voice that entered the conversation. Tusama, the boy is no older than me, so why can he be ninja and I can't? She asked as she looked at the Kazekage, who closed his eyes for a second to think about how to answer this question. Their reason why he is a ninja by his age is that he is a prodigy, one that is found once in a generation, and before you say me that you are also a prodigy, I have to inform you that he is teamed with 2 other prodigies and was trained by his father, the Yondaime Hokage, Raza said with closed eyes, but he could feel his daughter glare at the Yondaime Hokage's legacy. So he thinks he is so great because he is a prodigy? I will show him that I am better than him. She thought to herself with determination, still glaring at Naruto, who by now was sweating slightly. Well, I think we should get going if we want to be at Konoha's gates tomorrow morning, Shursui said, making the swan leader nod and head back with his daughter to their carriage, and the group soon started to walk towards the Hidden Leaf Village at a relaxed pace. 2 hours later, the group of 1 civilian, 1 genin, 1 chunin, 1 jonin, 4 ANBU, and 1 kage has been traveling through the forest in the Land of Fire for 2 hours by now. The travel was spent in relative silence, which was only interrupted by the ANBU once. They decided that now they were 7 instead of 4, they could change their positions. Naruto was now walking on the front, and Shursui and Itachi were on the behind. The 4 ANBU spread, 2 on each side. Gamma and Tanuki were on the left side of the carriage, while Tokage and Taka were on the right side. As they walked through the silent forest around them, Naruto couldn't shake off the feeling that something is going to happen. He didn't know what it meant or why he felt like this, but somehow, it gave him this uneasy feeling. Minutes passed, and the feeling grew stronger and stronger, but it was as silent as always. The only noises there were the footsteps of the horse, himself, Shursui, Itachi, the 4 ANBU, and there were too many footsteps. Before Naruto could shout out the warning, dozens of kunai were thrown at the 4 ANBU, which were too surprised to react in time. They all died instantly. Gamma had his heart pierced through by a kunai. Tokage got hit with 2 kunai in his face, each drilling through his eyes. Tanuki's whole body was obliterated with kunai, which pierced 4 of the vital points. Taka was killed by a single kunai to his throat. Suddenly, four figures jumped in front of the carriage, making the three young shinobi turn to them. They saw that they all had one thing in common. They all had a slashed Awagakure Haitayat. What do you want? Naruto demanded as he took out two kunai and settled in a defensive, making the four Missingnins from IWA to laugh at Naruto. The blonde was soon joined by Shursui, who had his tanto unsheathed, and Itachi, who was single kunai. Now all of them were ready to fight. Well, normally I would tell you, but somehow I am not in the mood, so just die, shouted one of them, who the team Shursui declared the leader of the group. The leader flew through a few hand seals, making the three Konoha ninjas to tense. When he finished, he slammed his both hand on the ground and shouted, Doton, raising earth spikes. Large spikes rose from the ground at an amazing speed, catching the team prodigy of the guard, and before any of them could move, they were impaled by the jutsu. Blood sprayed everywhere, while the last light of life vanished from the three pairs of eyes. Temari, who was watching from the carriage, shrieked in horror, and Raza prepared himself for the upcoming battle. So much for an escort and a safe trip, he thought grimly. Chapter 4. Creating. So much for an escort and a safe trip, Raza thought grimly and stood up to leave the carriage. A moment before he could open the door, the three dead bodies dissolved into crows which started to around the four Missingnins. The IWA group was shocked that they got caught in a jinjutsu and quickly dispelled it. As soon as the illusion vanished, they had to jump away as a large water dragon flew at them. They all jumped in different directions, scattering, but one of them was unlucky enough to get hit in tight, making the missing nin to cry out in pain. As soon as the ninja who was hit landed, Naruto was in front of him with two kunai and ready to fight. Even though he was injured, he took out a kunai and chuckled darkly. Do you really think you can beat me, boy? I am Asumi Dosu, a branked missing ninja, and you are nothing more than an average genin. The man shouted and burst into mad laughter while rushing Naruto, who prepared himself. With Shursui, the young jonin followed the leader of the group into the forest. He spotted the shinobi and threw a dose of shuriken at him. Kaido, the leader of the group, saw this and deflected the throwing stars with a kunai. The two landed on different branches and looked at each other. Shursui the teleporter, an A-ranked ninja from Konoha, said Kaido with a smirk and took a kunai out. Kaido, an ex-jonin from IWA, an A-ranked missing nin, Shursui commented while activating Sharingan and unsheathing his tanto. Let me show you why they call me Shursui the teleporter. The Uchiha added and used Shunshin to disappear. With Itachi, the young Uchiha heir saw his teammates rush after the opponents, but he himself stayed behind, waiting for the one who didn't jump into the forest. Suddenly, the ground under Itachi erupted into several spikes which tried to impale the Uchiha, but he easily jumped over them. As soon as Itachi's feet touched the ground, the young Chunin had to jump away as his opponent tried to smash him with a giant fist made of stone. While the Chunin was midair, he went through a few hand seals. Katon, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. He spat out 5 fireballs, which flew at the Iwanin very fast. The missing nin didn't even try to evade the attack. He simply batted the fireballs away with his stone fist. The man grinned when he saw that Itachi was going through another hand seal sequence. Show me what you got, little guy. The man shouted and rushed at the Uchiha, who ended the seals. Raitun, Thunderball Jutsu. The Uchiha shouted, and a sparkling yellow ball formed between his palms. As the missing nin was close enough, Itachi pushed the ball at his opponent, who didn't even have time to curse before the attack hit him. The young Sharingan user watched as the Iwanin's body was electrocuted until his body started to smoke. He couldn't help but smirk in satisfaction when the giant fist of stone crumbled down. Well, that was easy. I wonder how Shursui and Naruto are doing, he asked himself while walking towards his opponent to cut his head off and seal it away by a scroll that both he and Shursui got from Naruto for such occasions. With Naruto, the blonde shinobi parried the 2 first slashes at his face by Asumi. The blonde dropped low as the missing nin tried to kick Naruto in the face with a back kick and quickly made a sweep kick, which made Asumi fall down. Seeing an opportunity, Naruto tried a thirst at the down ninja, who saw this and was able to roll away just in time and countered with a kick to Naruto's chin, which sends the blonde flying away. Before Naruto could fly too far, Asumi caught the blonde's leg and threw him down on the ground, creating a crater. When Naruto hit the ground, he gasped in pain and spat out blood. The blonde quickly tapped the ground lightly and created a single hand seal for substitution when he saw Asumi launch an axe kick to where he was lying. When the Brank ninja saw that he destroyed a log instead of a Chunin, he growled and made several hand seals. Doton, Mudshot Jutsu. He spat mud at a branch on which Naruto was going through his own sequence of hand seals. Raitun, Disruption Wave Jutsu. He pointed his palms at the incoming mud and suddenly blew lightning shot from his hands and hit the mud. Asumi's jutsu suddenly stopped, shocking slightly the Exaiwanin. Before Asumi could say anything, Naruto sped through another hand seals. Suetun, Water Dragon Jutsu. Suddenly from the moisture in the air, a large orb of water surrounded Naruto, and not a second later a dragon shot out from the orb. Asumi watched with wide eyes as the large dragon flew at him. Suddenly he understood the danger in front of him and started going through his own set of hand seals. But before he could finish, a light shinned under him, and when he looked down, he saw a paralyzing seal under him, which took effect immediately, paralyzing the missing Nin before he could finish the sequence of hand seals. When did he put it down here? He asked himself, and then remembered that he was still in the crater in which Naruto lying for a few seconds. If he did this, then he must have it done in about 2 seconds. Asumi shouted in disbelief in his head. You little sure. He was cut off as the branked Suetun ninjutsu hit him perfectly into his torso. Naruto watched as his opponent was carried away, and as he hit the first tree, he flew further. The second tree, he was still carried away by the water dragon. Only after Asumi hit the third tree did the jutsu stop, letting Asumi hit the floor, dead. As Naruto walked over to Asumi, he sighed and prepared himself for the hardest part. He took out a kunai and channeled chakra through it and cut of Asumi's head. The young Chunin quickly sealed the head away and burned the body of the deceased ninja. All right, let's see how the rest is holding, he told himself and jumped through the branches towards the carriage. With Shursui, the Uchiha appeared behind Kaido and tried to slash him with Tanto, but the missing Nin was able to block the slash and kicked Shursui in the gut, but to his surprise, Shursui vanished. Kaido's senses shouted at him to dodge, and it was a good thing he has done so, because if he didn't have ducked, Shursui would have cut his head off. As Kaido was in midair, he made 2 hand seals and pointed at Shursui, who was making his own hand seals. Doton, Raising Needle Jutsu. He shouted and a thin, but very fast needle shot out from ground, aimed at Shursui's face. The Konoha Jonin saw this thanks to his Sharingan, and tilted his head to the side to avoid getting hit. Shursui quickly jumped into the air and finished his hand seals. Katon, Dragon's Breath Jutsu. Shursui exhaled an orange-yellow continuous flame that flew at Kaido, who quickly places his palms on the ground. Doton, Earth Wall Jutsu. A thick wall rose in front of the Jonin, just in time to protect him from the flames. He waited for about 5 seconds until the attack sustained and then jumped over the wall. Before he could touch the ground, Shursui threw 6 kunai at him. Each of the projectiles hit in a vital spot, but before Shursui could smirk at his victory, Kaido dissolved into the mud. Clone. The Uchiha thought and jumped back, but at the very moment his feet left the ground, a pair of hands shot out from underground and caught the Uchiha's ankles. Die? Shursui heard from behind himself, and when he turned around, he saw Kaido rushing at him with a spear of stone instead of his right hand. The spear went perfectly through the Uchiha's heart, making his eyes to widen as blood started to spill from his mouth. You know, Shursui said weakly as the light of life started to fade from his eyes. You are not the only one who can make clones, Shursui said with a smirk at the end, and he added one last word. Boom! Suddenly the Shursui that Kaido had killed started to shine and exploded the next second. The real Shursui who was watching it from one of the branches couldn't help but smirk. Remember, gotta thank Itachi for creating this jutsu, he told himself while waiting for the smoke from the explosion to dissolve. A few moments later, the smoke was gone and Shursui had a clear look at what happened there. Inside a crater was lying a half-dead Kaido. Half of his body was so scorched that it was fully black, while the other half had third-degree burns. Lucky for Shursui, Kaido's face was still intact, so he could collect the prize for his death later. After he sealed the head, he went back to where the carriage was left. With Itachi, a few moments after the young Uchiha defeated his opponent, he was joined by Shursui. Raza was quite frankly surprised how fast and efficiently Itachi defeated his opponent. But when the young Jonin came back after 2 minutes, clearly victorious from his battle, he was stunned. Of course, no one ever told him that Naruto always did something that no one expected to happen. So when the young blonde came back almost with no injuries, Raza couldn't help but stare. A 6-year-old boy just killed a branked missing Nin, and he looks like he almost did not get hit, the Kazekage commented in his head. If those three are a testament of the power of Konoha, then I must make sure that the alliance between our villages will stay intact, he told himself. The trio turned back to the Kage and walked over to him and his daughter, who stormed out of the carriage as soon as she saw that Team Shursui came back from their fights. I think that we should keep going, Kazekage-sama, Shursui said as the two groups neared. The swan leader was about to say something, but was cut off by his daughter, who was glaring at Naruto and poking him in the chest with her right index finger. Do you know how much you three scared me? She asked, obviously speaking only to Naruto, who was looking at her with confusion, but before he could answer, she continued. I thought you three were dead and that they would attack us. She shouted and threw her hand into the air. Titamarazan we, Naruto was cut off by Temari, who was once again glaring at him. I don't want to listen to your excuses. If you are sorry, you will show me that. Do you understand? She asked in a dangerous voice, making Naruto sweat and look at his teammates for help. Naturally, both Shursui and Itachi were suddenly interested in the forest around the group. Traitors, the blonde thought, and looked back to the Kazekage's daughter, who was still staring at him with this unnerving look in her eyes. Then how should we show that we are sorry? He asked her, making her give him a grin, unnerving Naruto even more. When we get back to Konoha, you will take me to a sweet shop and pay the bill for my food, the Suna princess stated, making Naruto raise an eyebrow, but he nodded nevertheless. All right, I guess that's all right, he answered. The blonde shinobi watched as Temari nodded and went inside the carriage, closely followed by her father. As the door closed, Naruto turned round to find a grinning Shursui. What are you two grinning about? He asked his teammates. If it was possible, Shursui's grin got even wider. Well, we just wanted to ask, how does it feel to go on a date with Kazekage's daughter? Asked the 11-year-old Jonin. Naruto looked at his friend with a calm expression and then answered with a smirk. It was obvious that you would ask me about it. After all, what do you know about relationships with girls? The young Jonin asked with his smirk, making Shursui's eyes to widen as Naruto walked past him. Itachi looked at his cousin and shook his head with a smirk on his own. You know, he is right. Even I have a closer relationship with Izumi than you with any girl, the Uchiha heir stated and suddenly gasped. Or maybe you are. Itachi let the sentence hang on. The oldest Uchiha in the group got red, from embarrassment or anger. Itachi couldn't tell and shouted as loud as he could. I am not gay. Itachi raised an eyebrow and an amused smile formed on his face. I have never implied that you are a homosexual-oriented, Itachi said, and Naruto couldn't hold it anymore and burst into laughter. As the group departed, they forgot that there were 4 ninjas who ambushed them. Sachikage is going to be interested in the Namikaze brat skills, HN. Konoha's Gate. 2 days have passed since Team Shursui met with the Kazekage, and the now group of 5 and 1 horse were standing in front of the huge gate of Konoha. Raza and Temari left the carriage so the Chunin guards could take care of their horse. Meanwhile, the two of them would speak with the Hokage. Of course, the friendly old man was waiting for the group just outside the gates, so when the two leaders met, Hiruzen dismissed the team and told them to meet with him tomorrow for a report of the mission. A few minutes after being dismissed, the 3 ninja were walking through the main street of Konoha, talking to each other about random subjects and greeting back the villagers that waved and greeted them. So I was thinking that with Naruto's date, we could take a weekly break so we can relax and train personally, Shursui said with a grin when he saw Naruto narrow his eyes on him. For the last time, it's not a date, Naruto shouted, gaining attention from every civilian around. Soon the news about the Yondaeme's son dating someone could be heard through whole Konoha. I agree with you. Naruto must surely need some time to prepare himself for the date, Itachi added with a smirk when he saw Naruto twitch. It becomes a common joke between the two Uchihas used to tease Naruto during the boring 2 days of the trip. Ack, I hate you guys, Naruto shouted and used Shunshin to go home. When the blonde Genin was away, Itachi turned to his cousin and raised an eyebrow. Do you think that we might have overdone it? The Uchiha heir asked, making Shursui look thoughtful for a moment before he shrugged. Nah, he will be fine, the Jonin answered with a dismissing wave of a hand, making Itachi's sweat drop. Well, I gotta go. My mother is surely worried about my on an A-ranked mission, Jana, he said and used Shunin to disappear, leaving Itachi alone. Right. What to do? What to do? He mused to himself until he heard a voice in the back of his head. With a nod, he changed his path. Dango does seem right after a hard mission, he stated. The next day, one day after their return, we can see Naruto walking through the streets of Konoha in one of Konoha's restaurant district. When he turned a corner, he saw a small ramen bar with a sign which read Ichiraka's Ramen and went inside. After he ordered, he waited a few minutes until his food was ready. As Naruto finished his second bowl of ramen, another person entered the bar. Yo, the letter which you left at my house said that you wanted to meet with me as fast as possible. What can I help you with? Asked a familiar voice of his brother figure. Naruto swallowed the noodles he had in mouth and then turned to the silver-haired ENBU captain. Kakashi, I need your help with creating a jutsu, the Namake's heir stated bluntly, making Kakashi's single eye to widen in surprise. Naruto sighed and leaned on the table. I want to create a jutsu similar to Chidori, but without the tunnel vision. Will you help me? The Genin asked. Naruto, you know that creating a jutsu is a process that takes much time? I know it may sound bad coming from me, but I had help from my father's notes because I didn't create Chidori from scratch. It was actually my father's project, but he wasn't able to finish it, the silver-haired ninja said. Naruto nodded and grinned. I know Kakashi, but have you forgotten the good thing about shadow clones? Naruto asked, making the older ninja sigh in defeat. All right, I will help you, but you have to tell me some more detail about what exactly we are trying to create, the ENBU member said, making Naruto pump his fist into the air. Basically, I am trying to develop a better version of your Chidori which will allow me to use it without the tunnel vision, Naruto said briefly, making Kakashi nod sagely and start to scratch his chin in thoughts. Well, we can try, but I am not sure how long it will take or if it actually can be done, the one-eyed ninja said, making Naruto take out money from his pocket and drag Kakashi the training ground behind the Namake's house. While they were walking, Kakashi asked a question that had bugged him since Naruto asked him for his help with creating a jutsu. Naruto, why do you want to create a jutsu right now? Kakashi asked, making the blonde give him a grin. You know, I can't be the only one on our team who didn't create a jutsu, Naruto answered, making Kakashi raise an eyebrow. Huh, was all Kakashi said, making Naruto sigh. Well, Itachi has created his own version of Shadow Clone, the Clone Great Explosion, and Shursui made a powerful Katon ninjutsu, the Dragon's Breath, so I don't want to be the only one on our team who hasn't created his own technique, Naruto answered, making the silver-haired ANBU to chuckle. So it about rivalry? The older ninja asked, making Naruto nod slightly. Yeah, but not completely. I also want to create a trademark jutsu for me. You know, like yours Raikiri and Tauzen's Hiration. I thought about completing the Rasengan, but it wouldn't be the same, the blonde answered with a shrug. So if you want to be known for your own jutsu, does that mean that you won't learn the Hiration? Asked Kakashi with a raised eyebrow. Naruto grinned at his older brother figure. Of course I will, but I will not stop there. If I truly want to surpass Tusan, I will have to learn Hiration and then evolve it to whole another level, the blonde Genin said, making Kakashi's single eye to widen. A Hiration on a higher level. The one-eyed genius asked himself in wonder, but before he could think too much, Naruto grabbed his hand and started rushing towards his house. Later that day, after Temari came back to her hotel room from the talks with Hokage, she flopped down on her bed, face first. Gah? It was so boring. And we hadn't even had time for lunch, the blonde girl complained in her thoughts until she remembered that Naruto promised her free meal at a sweet shop. With this in mind, she stood up, suddenly not exhausted, and left her room to ask someone where she may find her fellow blonde. Once she was outside the hotel, she spotted an older woman who was sitting on a porch of her house, so she decided to ask her for directions. Hello, Temari said awkwardly, not sure how to ask her question. The elderly woman turned to the young Suna princess and smiled. Good afternoon, young one. What can I help you with? The woman asked. I wanted to ask if you may know where I can find Namake's Naruto, the blonde girl asked, making the woman's smile widen. Ah, so you must be the one he is taking on a date. The news about this got pretty quickly around Konoha, the woman said, making the blonde girl blush and look away from the elderly woman. And no, it must be a mistake. We are not going on a date. We are only kids, Temari reasoned. A date? I am going to kill him when I meet him. She promised in her mind. Yes, of course. If you want to meet Namikaze-sama, you should probably search at Ichiraka's ramen bar or at his house, the woman answered, making the 5-year-old girl raise an eyebrow. Namikaze-sama? The girl asked again, making the elderly woman to nod. Yes, he is the son of our village's biggest hero, the one who defeated the almighty Kyubi no Yoko, the Yondaime Hokage, the woman explained, surprising Temari since she didn't know that Naruto was the son of the Yondaime Hokage. Do you know where his house is? The daughter of Kazekage asked, and after getting the directions from the older woman, she bid her farewell and followed the directions. Namake's house. Naruto, Kakashi, and 300 shadow clones of Naruto were sitting in the backyard with tons of books, scrolls, and notes. The original Naruto and Kakashi were sitting on a bench under the shadow of a tree, while the clones were divided into 60 groups, each group having 5 clones in a group. The large had one goal, to create a new right on Jutsu. Nay, Kakashi ni, what if Naruto was cut off when he heard someone to ring at his door. I will be right back, Naruto said, and went to open the door. When he opened the door, he saw Temari standing there. Hello? He asked, uncertain of what to do. Hello, Naruto-san, I am hungry, Temari answered, making Naruto blink twice. Then go eat something, the blonde boy advised, making Temari blush and look away. Shut up. I know that I should eat something, she shouted and narrowed her eyes at Naruto, who was looking at her with confusion. All right, have a nice day, he said with a smile and closed the door right in front of Temari's face. Naruto turned around to go back to training, but suddenly the door shot open and hit him in the head, which resulted in him falling face first into the ground. You jerk, Temari shouted, making Naruto stand up and glare at her. What did you say? Naruto shouted back and leaned forward, making Temari also lean forward and poke him into his chest. I said, you are a jerk. She poked him with every word, making Naruto narrow his eyes on her. Yeah? Oi, Naruto. Shut up. Both Naruto and Temari shouted at Kakashi, who entered the house and was looking blankly at them until he shrugged back and went back to the backyard. Naruto took a calming breath and then turned back to his fellow blonde. So, Temari-san, I am very busy, so please tell me what you want, the blonde genin asked, making Temari lean back. I want sweet chestnuts, she answered, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. You promised to take me to a sweet shop and buy me sweets, she clarified, making Naruto sigh. All right, let me just, he was cut off when a grinning Temari took him by arm and rushed to the nearest sweet shop. Wait, I don't have any money with me, he shouted while Temari dragged him. You can put them on tab or something, she answered and entered the first sweet shop they encountered. When they took a sit, a waitress came and took their orders since Naruto decided to eat something as well. After the waitress was gone, Naruto created a shadow clone who went back to his house to inform Kakashi and take some money to pay for their meal. During their wait for the food, the two kids started some light conversation, which was mostly about comparing the lifestyle of a Konoha citizen with their Suna counterpart. Soon their food was delivered, and the two of them moved to get to know each other a bit more. They mostly spoke about hobbies, dreams, favorite food, and more unimportant things. Thanks to their conversation, Naruto learned that Temari's favorite foods were sweet chestnuts and kenshin soup. He has also learned that Temari's hobby was flora appreciation, while her dream was to become a known and powerful jonin. Even after the two were done with their food, they still stayed and talked to each other. Naruto had to admit, even though Temari was bossy, she was someone nice to speak to. Of course, their little chat couldn't last forever, especially in Konoha. Yash, let's have a youthful spar after our lunch, Asuma. The loud voice of Guy gained Naruto's attention. When the blonde looked to where the voice came from, he saw Asuma, Guy, Kurenai, and Gunma enter the dango shop. Of course, I am eating at an unusual place, and they all decide to come here. How lucky, Naruto thought sarcastically, but he was cut from his musing when he heard Kurenai's voice. My, Naruto-kun, why don't you introduce us to your friend? Kurenai asked while the group of four took seats at Naruto's and Temari's table. On Naruto's left was now Guy, and then Gunma, while on Temari was sitting opposite the Namikaze, and to her left was first Kurenai, and then Asuma. Everyone, this is Sabaku no Temari, daughter of the Yondaime Kazekage. Temari, those are Mike Guy, Shiranui Gunma, Yuhi Kurenai, and Saratobi Asuma. Naruto introduced them and suddenly looked at a clock. Oh, it is so late. I have to get back to training. I will see you all later. Tamarizan, do you want to meet here tomorrow again? Naruto asked, surprising Temari slightly. Yes, I would like that, she answered with a smile that made Naruto blush slightly. The genin quickly turned around and rushed back home. Jana, he waved over his shoulder. Temari excused herself and went back to her hotel soon after Naruto was away. Unbeknown to the two kids, the older ninjas snickered at how the two interacted. 3 days later. And the next 3 days passed pretty quickly for Naruto and Temari. During the last 3 days, the two got a bit closer and considered each other friends, so they spent the last days together. It would be usual Norat and Temari meeting for a breakfast for which Naruto would pay, then the two would spend some time talking to each other. After that, they would head back to Naruto's house where they would meet with Kakashi. The two shinobi trained for the next 4 hours with the help with shadow clones while Temari watched and even helped, which showed how intelligent the girl was because even though she wasn't a ninja, she was able to help the blonde by creating his jutsu. The two would then go on lunch together, for which Naruto would pay. Again, after they ate, they would go sightseeing Konoha or just rest on some training ground or at Naruto's house. Now, the two of them were standing with the Kazekage, the Hokage, and a new squad of ANBU from Suna at the Konoha gate. The two leaders exchanged farewells. SD did the two kids. So, you are going back. That wasn't a question, but a simple statement from Naruto. Temari nodded subtly. Yeah, I'm going back, Temari said. After a few moments of silence, Naruto rubbed back of his head and looked away to hide his slight blush. Two, I'm gonna miss you. You know, the blonde boy said, and Temari smiled slightly. Oh, are you going to cry now? She teased with a smile, making Naruto twitch and point accusingly at her. Oi, I was honest here, he shouted, but was surprised when she nodded and quickly hugged him, shocking the blonde genin. But before he could react, she withdrew back. Gotta go. Bye, Naruto-kun, she said and rushed inside the carriage, leaving a dumbstruck Naruto alone with a blush on his face. The Namikaze has not moved until the carriage and ANBU squad had not vanished from the sign. Naruto-kun, huh? He asked himself, and with a grin he walked back to his home for his training with Kakashi. A week after the Kazekage's departure. For the next week since Temari and her father had departed for Suna, Naruto had thrown himself into constant training, with only one objective in his head, creating his personal jutsu. Of course, that didn't mean that he was training physically or that he even used chakra. Actually, after Kakashi taught Naruto the basic principles of creating jutsu, and his clones came with a good idea how the technique is supposed to work, which would take more time were it not for Temari, Naruto spent the whole time in his father's, or actually in now his own study, where he worked on the jutsu theory. Even though he worked the whole time, Naruto still had time to meet with his older brother and to go out with his team, but most time was spent in his study. Now that the 1 week for rest was over, normally Naruto would meet Shisui and Itachi at their usual training ground, but the older of the Uchihas came yesterday evening and informed Naruto to meet with them at the Hokage Tower. So as Naruto was walking through the busy streets of his beloved village, he couldn't help but twitch as he heard that some people were still talking him dating the Suna princess even now. With a sigh, he entered the Hokage Tower and walked over to where he saw his teammates. Good. Now that you are here, Naruto, we can meet the Hokage, Shursui said with a grin, making Naruto raise an eyebrow when he saw that even Itachi was grinning. All right, what is happening here? He asked, making them grin even wider. You will hear in a few moments, Itachi answered, and then started walking towards the Hokage office, soon followed by his teammates. After they knocked on the door and were allowed to enter, they all bowed in front of their leader. Hokage-sama, they greeted in unison, amusing the old leader. Please take seats, Hiruzen said, and the three shinobi sat down in chairs in front of their leader. You might be wondering why I have summoned you, or it is most likely only Naruto who is wondering, the old man said with a smirk when he saw Naruto's right eye twitch twice. Indeed, Hokage-sama, what is happening? Naruto asked, making the Sandaime nod and take out his pipe. The old man used a mirror katon jutsu to make the tobacco burn. The reason why I called you is that after getting a report of your improvement and skills not only from Shursui and Itachi, but from the Kazekage himself who watched your fight during your last mission with a jutsu of his, I have decided to give you a field promotion to the rank of Chunin, Sandaime informed Naruto, who was looking at him blankly. Of course, we can wait with your promotion to the upcoming Chunin exams that are taking place in 2 weeks, but if you will fail at the exams, you will have to wait 6 months, Hiruzen said, and puffed out smoke while waiting for the answer from Naruto. The blonde himself was at a dilemma. One way I can get promoted now, or the other, I can fight in front of all those people and make a name for myself. He debated until he came to the final decision. I will take the Chunin exams, Hokage-sama, he said, making Sarutobi raise an eyebrow. Oh, why would you do this, Naruto-kun? The elder man asked, curious why the blonde would rather wait for promotion than get it now. Well, the first reason is that I will be able to make a name for myself, especially with all these people watching, which will be the first step towards my ultimate goal, Naruto commented. Ultimate goal? Itachi asked, also curious about his teammate's decision. The blonde nodded and continued. Yes, my ultimate goal is to surpass my father, the young Namikaze answered, making the 3 other ninjas in the room nod. That makes sense, they all thought. And what is the second reason? Hiruzen asked, making Naruto grin and rub the back of his head. Hee, it will be a good chance to present my newest jutsu, the blonde genin said proudly, shocking everyone else. Your new jutsu? Shursui asked, making Naruto blush in embarrassment and laugh awkwardly. Well, there is a tiny, little chance that the jutsu is not finished yet, but I will be able to complete it for the 3rd stage of the exams, Naruto said with a nod of his head as he crossed his hand over his chest and closed his eyes. Thanks to his closed eyes, he couldn't see the 3 sweat drops of his teammates and the Hokage. Great. Then there is only one thing we have to speak about, and then you 3 are dismissed, Hiruzen said, and turned to Naruto, who was once again looking at the Sarutobi. Naruto-kun, do you want to take the exams solo, or do I have to find 2 genin who want to enter the exams? Hiruzen said, and Naruto quickly shook his head. No, there is no need for you to search for other genin. I can take the exams alone, the young Namikaze answered, and the Sandaime nodded. The Konoha leader took a form from his drawer and handed it to Naruto. Very well then, Namikaze Naruto, the first part of the Chunin exams will commit in 14 days, on the 28th at 9:00 at the Academy's room 301. Don't be late. Dismissed, Sandaime Hokage said, and the 3 bowed and left the room. Once they were outside the office, Shursui turned to Naruto. Naruto, so what is this jutsu you are working on? What does it do? What's the name? The 11-year-old Uchiha asked, but Naruto shook his head and smirked. You didn't want to tell me, then I won't tell, the blonde answered, making Hisui sigh and Itachi smirk. So, you have been in the academy for a year, graduated at 6, and after 1 month you are taking the Chunin exams, meaning you will be genin only for 2 months in total. Nice, Itachi commented, making Naruto turn to him and give him a cheeky grin. I can't allow you to outrank me. You know, the blonde Namikaze answered as they walked the stairs down. So how about you? Won't you take the Jonin exams in 4 months, Itachi? Naruto asked, making Itachi shrug. Not sure. I mean, yeah, it would be cool, but I am not sure if I am ready to be a Jonin. So if in 3.5 months I will deem myself ready, I will take the exams. Otherwise, I will wait another 6 months, the Uchiha heir said, making Naruto nod. They both turned to Shui, who sighed dramatically. Ow. I remember the good times when you both were only graduating from the academy and were nothing more than Jinin, not someone who can take the Chunin and Jonin exams, Shusi said with a sigh and placed his hand over his heart. The times flows so fast, I think I am getting too old for this job, he said. The Uchiha made a pirouette and started to walk wobbly. The time when I am going to die from the old age is nearing. Too fast, he added, and then suddenly gasped and fell down on the ground, face first. Both Naruto and Itachi stopped in their tracks and looked at the downed Uchiha for a moment and then at each other. With a shrug, they both walked away, making Shui twitch. Oi, you two little brats, come back here. He shouted and rushed to catch up with his two teammates, who by now had already left the Hokage Tower. Chapter 5, Exams. The last 2 weeks passed very fast for the blonde Suntobe Chunin. He was working furiously on Jutsu, and finally, after 3 weeks of training with 300 shadow clones for 7 hours each day, he was close to finishing it. Of course, the blonde was so close to finishing it because thanks to the shadow clone Jutsu, he worked for about 5 years. How he loved the shadow clones. Of course, during the 2 weeks, Team Shui has done several cranked mission, which was mostly some easy delivery or guarding missions, since Shui and Itachi didn't want for Naruto to get injured before the exams. During the weeks, Naruto came to miss Temari. Of course, she was bossy and often would do things to annoy Naruto. But when she was in Konoha, Naruto at least had someone to talk to. That didn't mean he didn't like to talk with Shusu, Itachi, or Kakashi, but speaking with Temari was somehow different. The blonde Namikaze simply told himself that he missed her because she was the first female friend he had. Of course, he sometimes talked with Kurenai, but there was only 1 year difference between Naruto and Temari, while the difference between Naruto and Kurenai was 12 years. Besides, with time, Naruto came to see Kurenai as somehow an older sister. The blonde Jinin was now walking towards the Konoha Ninja Academy, where he is supposed to take the Chunin exam. When he entered the building, he went on the 3rd floor. He saw the long corridor and slightly shook his head while making a ram seal. Kai, he murmured and dispelled the Jinjutsu and walked through the corridor at which end was a double door. He looked at it for a moment and took a calming breath. He opened the door and was welcomed with a wave of killing intent, which didn't affect Naruto in the slightest. He walked past a few of the other genin and stopped in a corner of the room. After a few seconds, an older boy from Konoha walked over to Naruto. Oi, what a pipsqueak like you is doing here? The boy asked with a laugh, making a few of the other ninjas laugh as well. Everyone who knew who Naruto was were shaking their heads. The blonde looked at the older boy into eyes, and for a second the two of them made eye contact. Suddenly the older boy gasped and straightened. What's going on? He asked with a pained voice. Naruto smiled at the older ninja and answered. A paralysis Jinjutsu, quite useful, any? Naruto asked and released the Jinjutsu. The blonde smiled once more, making the genin go back to his team, while almost everyone was talking with their teams about Naruto. A few minutes later, the proctor of the first exam came into the room and told everyone to take a seat. The first stage was very easy for Naruto. It was a basic pop quiz, but with questions that most jonin would have problems with. Luckily, Naruto was kind of bookworm, so he was able to answer the question before he understood the meaning of the exam. The genin were supposed to gather information from 5 hidden Chunin, who and answers. In the end, for the 10th question, the proctor tried an intimidation technique, but Naruto didn't get scared since he remembered that his mother was scarier than the jonin proctor. So after the first part of 3, Naruto and the rest of the remaining genin who wanted to be promoted walked with proctor of the second exam towards the Forest of Death, or Training Ground 44. Of course, Naruto and his 2 teammates had made a 4-day training trip to the forest after being formed as a team, so Naruto had some knowledge about what he should be prepared for. Unfortunately, most of the other genin had never entered the forest, or even some of them had never heard about this place. How unlucky. After the proctor of the second explained the next part of the exams, everyone signed under a waiver that if someone would die, it is not Konoha's fault. After everyone signed the waiver, they all went with only their teams to a tent where they got one of the 2 scrolls needed to finish the stage. After Naruto got his Earth Scroll, he was instructed to go to one of the 44 gates. At the gate on Naruto's right was a team from Kumo, and on the left was a team from IWA. Just perfect, he commented. Soon the gates opened, showing that the second exam started, and the Chunin jumped inside the forest. As Naruto was jumping through the forest, he thought how he would proceed. The first option was that Naruto would rush the Kumo team, take their scroll, and rush the tower in the middle of the forest where he would have finished the second part of the Chunin exams. The second option was that the blonde would do the same, but with IWA team. Of course, if Naruto was unlucky, he would have fight more than one team to get the Heaven Scroll, but the young Chunin was sure that luck was on his side. In the end, Naruto decided to take the first option, so he changed his course and run to where the Kumo team should be. After 10 minutes of searching, the blonde found 3 ninjas from Kumo standing on a small clearing, and after a few moments of listening, he knew that they were thinking about their strategy for the second stage of the exams. The blonde quickly formed a plan of action in his mind, and then silently made his way towards a huge tree branch that was exactly above the team. The Namikaze molded chakra in his feet to stand upside down the branch, and after a few seconds, he leaped with all his strength from the branch. The Kumo ninjas didn't know what hit them. One moment they were talking about the strategy, and the second a blonde kid landed on the only female of the team with such speed that the hit made her head hit the ground with such power that she had been instantly knocked out. But before any of her teammates could react, Naruto made several hand seals, too fast for any of the two to see them. Suetun, Water Ball Jutsu. The blonde Chunin spat out a large and dense orb of water that hit one of the 2 Chunin in the gut, making him gasp and fly away. The Chunin who was hit stopped when his back hit a tree behind him with such strength that it made the trunk to explode. The pain from getting hit with the jutsu combined with hitting the large tree with his back made the Chunin spat out a glob of blood and lose his consciousness. By the time his teammate was knocked out, the third Chunin took out a ninjato and rushed Naruto, who blocked the first overhead swing with 2 of his kunai. The Kumo Chunin tried to slash Naruto with a horizontal slash, but the blonde boy ducked under it and tried to sweep the Kumonin from his feet. Unfortunately for Naruto, the other boy saw this and jumped over the sweep, but while he was still midair, Naruto showed off his agility and made a handstand while kicking his opponent under the chin. The Konoha ninja quickly followed by making a somersault to gain distance and went through a set of hand seals while the Kumo nin was still falling, stunned by the hit, and unable to do anything. Raitun, Lighting Shock Jutsu. The last Namikaze pushed his palms forward and 2 blue currents of lighting shot from them, electrocuting the Kumo Chunin, who fell down on the ground, unconscious. The young blonde then followed by quickly searching the 3 ninja for the scroll he needed, and after finding it on the girl on who he fell first, Naruto grinned as he pocketed a heaven scroll. Alright, now quickly to the tower, and I've got the second stage complete, he said to himself, and started to jump from branch to branch as fast as he could. Maybe if I am lucky, I will beat Itachi's record, he added with a smirk and speeded up. 5 days later. During Naruto's wait in the tower, the blonde was able to learn that if there will be too many Chunin left, they will make a preliminary on the day the second stage of the exams end. So today when Naruto woke up, he stretched and warmed up, just in time when a Chunin came to the room he was waiting in and told him that the preliminaries will now take place. When the blonde Chunin entered the arena in the tower, he was surprised to see the Hokage with at least 10 Jonin standing in front of all the teams were able to pass the second stage. When everyone was there, the Sandaime started his speech about how they have to do the preliminaries because of all the nobles and other important people who will come to watch the final stage of the exams. The part that interested Naruto the most was when Hiruzen mentioned both Kazekage and Temari. Of course, daimyos and nobles are the only important people coming to Konoha. The Yondaime Reikage, the Sandaime Tsuchikage, and the Yondaime Kazekage with his daughter will come to Konoha to watch the final stage, Hiruzen said with a small smile when he saw Naruto's eyes widen while a grin crept on the blonde's face. After the proctor told everyone the rules and a few people dropped out because they were too tired or injured, he told all of them to go to the spectator balcony, where the different Jonin sensei of the teams who passed were waiting. The blonde Jonin was surprised to see that both Itachi and Shursui were waiting there alongside the other Jonin sensei. Yo, Naruto, I heard that you broke Itachi's record, Shursui said, making Itachi's right eyebrow to twitch as he heard once again that his blonde friend broke his old record. The said blonde grinned and rubbed back of his head with an embarrassment blush while he chuckled slightly. Of course I did. I am awesome, after all. The Namikaze said cheekily, and before they could continue their little chat, the proctor called the first match, but after looking at who was fighting, Naruto shifted his attention back to his friends. So, what were you two doing while I was away? The Suntobe Chunin asked as he leaned on one of the walls. I have been training on my taijutsu and spending some more time with Sasuke, the Uchiha heir answered, surprising Naruto, who smiled after. Right, Sasuke, he is 2 now, right? The blonde asked, getting a nod of confirmation from his friend. What about you, Shursui? The youngest member of the team asked, making the older Uchiha grin, somehow worrying the blonde. I have spent the whole week getting girls to know, Shursui said proudly, making Naruto's sweat drop. What? Shursui asked after seeing his 2 younger friends' faces, getting a sigh from Itachi and a shake of the head from Naruto. I can't be the only one who hasn't a girlfriend on our team. I am the oldest of us after all, he commented with a smirk when he saw Naruto and Itachi to twitch. Temari is not my girlfriend. Izumi is not my girlfriend. The two shouted in unison, causing Itachi to smirk even wider when everyone, and I mean everyone, even the ones who were fighting, to turn to the 2 boys who were blushing furiously. Of course, everyone went back to their business as soon as they turned to the team Shursui. Naruto sighed and leaned back on the wall. I hate you, Naruto said and watched as one of the fighters was carried away to the infirmary. The blonde turned back to his black-haired friend when he heard him chuckle. What are you laughing at? The blonde asked, looking irritated at Shursui, as he heard the proctor call the next 2 fighters in the arena somewhere in the background. Come on, Naruto, you should be happy. Your little girlfriend is coming back to Konoha in about 3 weeks, a week before the 3rd stage, and will stay for until the exams are over, Shursui said, making Naruto scowl at the older Uchiha for again saying that Temari was his girlfriend and turn around. Of course, at the moment the blonde turned around, a smile spread across his face when he thought about Temari coming back. Will Namikaze Naruto and Yagami Kumiko come down here? The proctor said. The blonde genin didn't waste time and instantly jumped over the railing and waited for his opponent, who took the stairs to come down. Once Kumiko entered the arena, Naruto quickly looked over him. Kumiko was a genin from Konoha. The older boy looked around 12 or 13, had short brown hair and dull green eyes. He was wearing a black shirt and blue pants. As Naruto finished his analyze, he came to the conclusion that Kumiko was another ninja who didn't have anything special and would probably only reach Chunin. But instead of working on the field, he will be someone like a librarian or academy teacher. Of course, even if Kumiko didn't look special, Naruto would take this seriously, like every fight, because in the ninja world, the appearance could be very deceiving. As soon as the proctor began the match, Kumiko jumped back to gain some distance between the 2 genin. While Kumiko was in the air, he threw a dozen of kunai at Naruto, who took out 6 kunai and threw it so that the 6 deflected the dozen of throwing knives. As soon as Kumiko touched the ground, he sped through a sequence of hand seals. Katon, Great Fireball Jutsu. He exhaled a huge orb of fire at Naruto, but the blonde has seen bigger fireballs. Let's not forget that the fireball was slow enough for Naruto to go through hand seals at a more relaxed pace until he finished his 16 hand seals, which ended with the bird sign. Suetun, Water Dragon Jutsu. Suddenly an orb of water surrounded Naruto and then reformed into a dragon made of water, which glared at Kumiko with the intimidating yellow eyes. The 2 jutsu clashed in the middle of the arena, but Naruto's jutsu easily overpowered the one from the older ninja, who had to jump away to avoid getting hit by the jutsu. When the older genin landed, he threw a shuriken at Naruto and made several hand seals. Ninpo, Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. The single throwing star multiplied into 40 and all flew at Naruto, who made 2 hand seals and crouched as water started to surround him again. Suetun, Water Wall Jutsu. The shuriken tried to penetrate the water defense, but not even a single one was able to get close to Naruto, thanks to the jutsu, which stopped all shuriken in their tracks. The blonde genin saw that Kumiko was already panting, so he decided to finish the fight. Making on hand seal, The boy used Shunshin to disappear and appeared 2 meters from his opponent. The older genin had no time to be surprised as Naruto launched a barrage of punches and kicks, which made Kumiko work overtime to block or dodge every one of them. After getting another kick blocked, Naruto smirked and started to launch his attacks a bit faster and faster and faster until they were nothing more than blurs to the other genin. After Naruto increased the speed of his attacks the second time, Kumiko wasn't able to block so many of them, which resulted in him getting hit and lose his focus on tracking the blonde's attacks, which resulted into getting hit even more until he wasn't even able to lift his hand before he was hit. Thinking that enough was enough, Naruto ended the fight with a raising kick to Kumiko's chin, which knocked the bot back. During the onslaught of Naruto's attacks after the blonde increased his speed third time, the brown-haired boy was almost unconscious. The only thing which kept him from being knocked out was the will to fight. But even with his will, he faltered when Naruto delivered the rising kick to his chin, which finally did the inevitable. As soon as Kumiko hit the cold ground as a squad of medics, who were waiting since Naruto started to speed things up, came and took the older genin to the infirmary while the proctor called Naruto the winner. When the blonde entered the balcony, he was congratulated by his 2 teammates, of course after Shursui teased Naruto about why he took the whole 3 minutes. The trio didn't put too much attention to the next matches. Instead, they talked about some regular things. So when the Hokage's voice told everyone to come down to get their number for the final stage bracket, Naruto was quite surprised that the preliminaries were already finished. After the blonde got down with everyone who passed the preliminaries, a jonin let them took pieces of papers which had numbers on them. Alright, so the matches for the final stage of the Chunin exams are following, he said, and everyone turned to the small board that the jonin was standing next to. 1. Match: Saburo of Konoha vs. Nariko of Iwa. 2. Match: Nanami of Suna vs. Naruto of Konoha. 3. Match: Ko of Konoha vs. Hiroshi of Suna. 4. Match: Rakuto of Kyumo vs. Ichiro of Suna. You will have 1 month to prepare for the final stage, which will be taken Great Leaf Arena. If there are no questions, you are all dismissed, Hiruzen said, and turned to walk away. Chapter 6. Finals. When the Sandaime Hokage told everyone about where the 3rd stage of the exams will take place, Naruto and his team rushed through the forest towards the village. There was no particular reason why they were in such rush. Maybe it was because they didn't want to meet any of the animals which lived in the forest. As soon as they left the forest, they relaxed, seeing how they were in no danger anymore. Turning to his youngest teammate, Shursui asked, "So, Naruto, any plans for the month?" Itachi was also curious what the blonde genin would do. He himself remembers how he trained non-stop during the month break with his father and Shursui. Well, Ero Sennin said that he will allow me to sign the Toad contract, so I will be training summoning and fighting with the Toads for the first week. For the rest of the month, I will be completing my Jutsu with Ero Sennin's help. And between training and resting, I will most likely meet with Tamarikan, Naruto said with a grin, getting a few snickers at how he addressed one of the legendary Sannin. So, what about a training session tonight evening? Itachi asked as they walked into the more populated streets of Konoha. Naruto nodded with a grin at the notion of training, but Shursui shook his head, confusing the 2 younger ninja. "Why can't you come, Shursui?" the Uchiha heir asked. "I can't train today evening since I have a date in at 6 p.m., and knowing that after every training session I am sore for the next few hours, I can't go," Shursui said with a cheeky grin, making Naruto raise an eyebrow, while Itachi shook his head in disbelief. "What?" the older Uchiha asked. "Isn't it like a 4th date this week?" Itachi asked, making Naruto burst out in a laugh. The oldest member of Team Shursui muttered something about disrespectful brats, making the blonde genin laugh even harder, and even Itachi chuckled lightly. After they calmed down, they walked through the village streets, and after a few minutes, they ended at Ichiraka's ramen, where they decided to eat something. The trio ate their meals in comfortable silence until they heard 2 voices coming towards them. They recognized both of them. "Kakashi, my eternal rival. I am sure that young Naruto-kun will like my gift more, and thanks to it he will be able to fan his flames of youth even brighter." The trio heard Guy's eccentric voice shout, which was followed by Kakashi's sigh. Have you said something, Guy?" the silver-haired jonin asked, making the team Shursui laugh when they heard the green spandex wearing ninja shout something along the lines of Kakashi's attitude being too hip. The two ninjas soon entered the ramen stand, and Kakashi gave them an eye smile. Yo, he greeted with a wave. Of course, Guy's greeting was more youthful. Yosh, young burning leaves of Konoha. I am the beautiful green beast of Konoha, Mike Guy, but you too can refer to me as the fan that will make your fire of youth burn brighter. I am glad to finally meet the two teammates of youthful Naruto-kun. The black-haired Chunin shouted while pumping his fist into the air. The two Uchiha's sweat dropped and Itachi was sure that he saw literally fire shining in Guy's eyes. Yes, Naruto coughed in his hand. These are Uchiha Itachi and Shursui. He introduced his two teammates, who nodded to the Dajonin. So what are you two doing here? The blonde asked as he leaned on the table. Kakashi gave him an eye smile and took a small box from somewhere. He gave it to Naruto, who looked at the Enbu, who raised an eyebrow. Well, I decided to give you a small gift for breaking Itachi-san's record at the second stage of the Chunin exams. Besides, I don't think that I am the only one who has a gift for you, and I don't mean Guy, the Enbu said, making Naruto smile and open the small box. Once he looked inside, his eyes widened as he took out a black face mask, just like Kakashi's. Congratulations, Kakashi said. Thanks, Kakashi-ni, Naruto said as he placed the mask on his face. It was a perfect fit. Of course, there is one more gift, but only if you will become a Chunin, the silver-haired ninja said, making Naruto go through a list of things that he could get as a present in his mind. Young Naruto-kun, I also have a gift for you, Guy shouted and took out another package. Naruto turned to the Chunin and raised an eyebrow. You said something, Guy? The blonde asked, causing both Guy and Kakashi to freeze. Guy was the first to react as he fell to his knees and started to cry and shout about Kakashi corrupting Naruto with the mask and the blonde being too hip for his age. Meanwhile, Kakashi grinned under his mask and cheered with evil glee. Haha, he laughed maniacally. I have done it. I have a clone of myself, Kakashi stated, the three younger shinobi watching this sweat dropped. A few minutes later, the two older ninja calmed down, and now it was Guy's turn to give a gift to the blonde, now masked Genin. When the last Namikaze opened the box, he raised an eyebrow. A scroll? The blonde commented and unrolled it. As soon as he saw the title of the technique written in it, his eyes widened to unnatural proportions. Guy, I can't take this, the Genin said and tried to give the scroll to the Chunin, who gave Naruto thumbs up and spoke, his voice full of conviction. Naruto-kun, if there is a single person I know that will not abuse this technique, I am sure it will be you. So I decided to entrust you with this, but bear in mind that it is a double-edged sword, so use it only when protecting something precious to you, Guy said and gave Naruto a grin and disappeared in Shunshin. Naruto's two teammates turned to the blonde and asked in unison. Meanwhile, Kakashi looked also curious. What is this technique? The blonde looked at them for a moment and started to close the scroll. Once he did this, he placed it back in the small box and sealed it in a sealing scroll. The 8 Inner Gates. Namikaze's house. Sometime later, we find Naruto sitting in his house, or more exactly, he was sitting in his living room, watching TV and waiting for his godfather to come. The white-haired Sannin had told Naruto in his last letter that he would be coming today, but there was no sight of the toad sage. The waiting blonde groaned and lied on his sofa. Where is this old pervert? He shouted in his mind. After another boring 10 minutes, the blonde decided to do something. As he stood up, he considered what he would do. The first thing that came to his mind was to go train, but he reasoned that if he would go train now, he would be too tired later when his godfather came. Am I really this boring? He asked himself as he couldn't find another thing than training to do to spend time waiting for the Sannin. After a few more moments of thinking, the blonde Genin decided to think what others would do. Obasan would drink sake or gamble. Too young. Shursui would go out to meet someone. Have to wait. Itachi would spend time with Sasuke. Have no siblings. Erosenin would go peek at girls to write those books of his. Pervert, the blonde listed in his mind. That's it. He grinned and went to his study. I can write a book. It gotta be easy, he reassured himself. When he entered the room, he took a seat at the large oak desk, opened a drawer in which he held paper, and he opened a second drawer where he held his brushes and everything else to write. Let's see. The blonde started to write and didn't even know when the whole day passed as he spends the whole afternoon at his desk. Later in the night, long after midnight, when Jiraiya entered the study, he couldn't help but chuckle when he saw his godson sleeping with his face on a few sheets of papers under him and a brush in his hand. Next day, today morning after Naruto woke up, he was surprised that Jiraiya was at home, but he shrugged it off and went to make himself some breakfast. After this, the two headed to the backyard where the Sannin took out a package and gave it to the surprised Naruto. "Come on, open it. You are gonna like it," the white-haired ninja said as he waited for Naruto's reaction. The blonde didn't wait too long as he opened the package, and his eyes widened when he saw what was inside. Inside the package was a short-sleeved haori, exactly like his father's. The only thing that different was the color. Minato's haori was white with red flames at the bottom, where Naruto's haori was dark red with black flames at the bottom and the Namake's crest displayed on the back. The blonde genin quickly put on the new haori and made a few experimental katas to see how it feels to fight in the haori. A few moments later, the blonde turned back to Jiraiya and flashed him a huge grin. "Thanks, Ero-senin, but let's train. I waited for the whole day yesterday." Naruto shouted in frustration, making Jiraiya face fault and grumble something about disrespectful brats. Nevertheless, the legendary pervert took out the scroll on his back and unrolled it on the ground, in front of Naruto. The larger man pointed at one of the free squares. "Sign here with your blood," he said, making Naruto cut his finger and write his name, Namake's Naruto, right next to his father. "All right, here are the seals," the toad hermit said and made 5 hand seals at a quick pace, fast enough to make most Chunin unable to see them. Of course, Naruto went through the same hand seals at the same speed only a second after Jiraiya finished. The last Namake's had gone through the sequence a few more times to make sure he remembered the hand seals, and then nodded to his godfather. The larger man then proceeded to explain that to summon he had to push a large amount of chakra into his palms after using some of his own blood and then place them at the ground. After hearing the toad sage explain how the summoning works and how to do it, the blonde smeared some blood on his palm and made the hand seals needed for the jutsu. He then pushed a lot chakra into his right palm and placed it on the ground. "Summoning jutsu," he stated, and in a puff of smoke, a little orange toad appeared. The amphibian looked around until he spotted the twitching Naruto and surprised Jiraiya and then waved at them with a smile. "Yo, do you have some sweats?" he asked, making the blonde sigh and then point towards his house. "Yeah, go search in the kitchen. By the way, my name is Naruto, new toad summoner." Naruto introduced himself with a friendly smile, making the toad to grin. "My name is Gamakichi, son of Gamabunta and brother of Gamatatsu," the orange toad said, and then started to jump towards Naruto's kitchen. After the toad was away, the blonde turned to his godfather and shrugged. "Let's continue." Chunin Exams Arena. The blonde genin was standing in the middle of the arena with another 6 genin. As Naruto looked around, he couldn't help but be a bit nervous. It was not the crowd of hundreds if not 1,000 people who made him nervous, no. It were the 4 powerful leaders who were looking on the 8 genin from the seats in the Kage booth that made Naruto sweat. After all, it is not every day that you stand in front of the Hokage, Kazekage, Tsuchikage, and Reikage and have to fight to demonstrate your village power. Not to mention that somewhere in the crown were his godparents, Tamarikan, his 2 teammates, and Kakashi with his friends. It would be embarrassing to lose in front of them all, especially after all the training he had done and all the praise he got for being a prodigy. Well, there was no backing down now, especially when the Sandaime Hokage stood up and started his welcoming speech, during which the blonde genin thought about what he did when Temari came. The two spend the whole week together, either playing or making some light training since Temari started her ninja training when she came back to Suna. The 2 kids also spend some time thinking about ideas for Naruto's book. The first fight between Subiru of Konoha and Noriko of IWA will start in a moment. "Everyone else please go to the waiting area," the proctor said, and the Zei's genin went to the balcony, which was under the Kage booth. Soon the fight started and Naruto, who was leaning on the wall, watched to gain as much information as he could. The fight was brief. Subiru was a kenjutsu fighter with a few genjutsu, but Noriko used a jutsu that created a chakra-enhanced stone armor around her body, making the Konoha genin unable to penetrate it. The Iwanin finished the match with a powerful kick to Subaru's torso, showing that either the armor had given her a power boost or that she had so much natural strength. Soon the second match was called, making the blonde a bit more stressed than before, but nevertheless, he appeared at the middle of the arena, making the whole arena to erupt into cheers. He heard a group of teenage girls call him a cutie, and when he looked over to Temari, he saw her twitch and being held down by Baki, her escort. Of course, he also saw a few girls his age look at him with blushes. It was no surprise when the boy was wearing a black face mask with a black long-sleeved muscle shirt and black shinobi pants. Over this, he was wearing his new Haori, and on his hands were black ninja gloves with a metal plate on them. His high-tie was safely tied around his forehead. As Naruto watched his opponent come to the arena, he saw that she wore a simple black battle kimono. The girl had short brown hair and black eyes. Over her right shoulder peeked a ninjato. Nanami of Suna versus Naruto of Konoha, begin. The proctor jumped away after beginning the fight. The blonde genin jumped a bit back and made several hand seals while he was still midair. Right on. Pale lighting, a white and thin stream of lighting shot from Naruto's fingertips and flew at his opponent, who moved her head just in time for the jutsu to cut her hair. She looked with wide eyes at Naruto, and then they narrowed. She unsheathed her ninjato and rushed at her opponent. Seeing his opponent coming to him, the blonde smirked and made a single-hand seal. Suiton. Water gun jutsu. Naruto made a pistol from his right hand and shot a small, but fast and powerful ball of water at his opponent, who used her blade to deflect the attack. After feeling the attack stop, she looked at her blade and her eyes widened when she saw that it had a dent in it. There was only one thought in her mind. Good thing I used my chakra to reinforce my ninjato, she told herself, and rushed at the blonde again. This time, the last Namikaze took out 2 kunai and waited for her. When Nanami was close, she tried to stab the blonde, but he parried her attack with one of his kunai and countered with a slash at her face with the other kunai. The Sunanin was able to tilt her head back to avoid getting cut. She made a pirouette and launched an overhead slash at the blonde, who sidestepped the attack. Nanami followed by trying to sweep Naruto's feet from under him, but he somersaulted backward, and while he was in the air, he threw 2 of his kunai at her. The girl was surprised by the attack and too close to her opponent to be able to block both of them. She decided to block the one which was flying at her face while getting hit with the second, which impaled her right thigh, making the Suna Kunoichi to hiss in pain. Without a second thought, she ripped the kunai out and threw it back at Naruto, who caught it and smirked at his opponent, making her growl in irritation. The blonde rushed at his opponent and launched a right hook, which the Kunoichi blocked, and tried to counter with a horizontal slash, but Naruto used his palm to hit her wrist, stopping the blade and making her drop the blade. She tried to duck and take the sword back, but she had to roll back when Naruto tried to kneel her in the face. The blonde placed his foot under the blade and threw it behind him, making the Kunoichi TSK in annoyance. Nanami rushed at the blonde and launched a spinning kick, but Naruto caught her ankle and threw her over his shoulder, surprising the girl. She corrected herself in the air and landed in a crouch, but had to roll to the side to avoid Naruto's axe kick. She launched a rising kick to Naruto's chin, which sends him flying into the air, but to everyone's surprise, he made a pirouette in the air and threw a kunai at her face. The brown-haired girl had enough time to move to the side, but still got a small slice on her cheek. She made several hand seals and inhaled air. Futon, air bullets jutsu. She exhaled a dozen of small, but deadly orbs of wind at Naruto, who brought his hand in front him to cover his face and vitals. The blonde got hit a few times, and when he landed, he saw that he was bleeding slightly from the small wounds. He looked over to his smirking opponent and made a single hand seal, and then rushed once more at her. Nanami tensed as she saw the blonde shinobi come at her. He appeared in front of her and launched a right jab at her face, and she moved to block the attack, but at the last moment, he suddenly disappeared and appeared behind her, shocking the crowd. He launched an uppercut to her tailbone, making her gasp in pain as she felt him hit her. The attack made her unable to defend against his next attack, which was a back kick to her back, which made her stumble forward, but before she could do something, Naruto appeared in front of her with a rising kick to her chin, which sends her into the air. The blonde finished his combo by appearing above her and executing an axe kick to her gut, making her gasp for air and hit the ground, painfully. Winner, Naruto of Konoha. The proctor shouted and the whole crowd erupted into cheers, everyone cheering for the blonde who grinned and bowed to the four Kages and went back to the balcony. Kage booth. So that is the son of the yellow flash. Interesting, the sandamed Kazekage, Anoki, mused while appraising the blonde who was walking back to the balcony. They heard a grunt and turned to the Yondaime Reikage, AI. This kid is fast for his age, even if he was holding back with those seals that Minato created, the Reikage stated, making Hiruzen smile slightly. It wasn't known fact, but both AI and Minato became good friends and rivals after the war, so it was obvious that the black-skinned man would be interested in his friend's child's development. Which seals do you mean, Reikage Dono? Raza asked the bulky man. AI smirked and turned back to the arena. Gravity seals. Minato created them to train speed and reaction time of the user. When the user places a gravity seal on them, the whole body is pushed down by the gravity, making it harder to walk and fight. There are 10 levels of the seal, and if I remember right, Minato was on the 9th when we last met, 2 weeks before the QB attack, AI informed. Before any more questions could be asked, the next match started. With Naruto. The blonde Chunin watched the fight between a Hyuga clan main branch member and a puppeteer from Suna. The fight lasted longer than the first, but was shorter than the second. Ko, the Hyuga, found out that Hiroshi was hiding in the trees and that the Hyuga was fighting a puppet. Soon the fight changed into a game of catch. Ko was running after his real opponent while being chased by the puppet who had no long-range weapons, so it had to get close. After about 2 minutes, Ko was able to substitute with a branch next to the puppeteer and then used Jukin to win the fight. The fourth fight occurred soon. This battle was between a dark-skinned Chunin, Rakuto, who was a ninjutsu specialist, versus a red-haired Sunanin, Ichiro, who also was a ninjutsu specialist. The two shot a jutsu after jutsu at each other, trying to overpower the opponent. If Naruto had to describe the fight, it would be flashy. Of course, it would be an amazing battle for a civilian who came to watch ninjas to exhale fire and shot lightning from their hands. But for a ninja, it was simply boring. Why? Because none of the used jutsu was close to hitting their opponent. None of the two fighters got a single hit on the other, and the fight ended with both of them falling unconscious because of chakra exhaustion. The fight ended in a draw, and it was Naruto's time to fight the Kunoichi from IWA. The two stood in front of each other, waiting for the proctor to start the match. As Naruto observed his opponent, he saw her finger twitch slightly, indicating that at the moment the match starts, she will start doing hand seals and is preparing herself. Of course, if anyone other than Naruto would fight her, they would attack her to stop her from doing her jutsu, but Naruto had others' plans. Begin. The proctor started the match, and true to Naruto's observation, Nariko jumped back and made several hand seals. Doton, stone armor jutsu, she shouted, and as soon as she touched the ground, the stones from the ground shrouded around her, creating an armor which protected everything besides her face. She looked to where her opponent was and was slightly surprised to see Naruto waiting for her with his hand crossed. "Aren't you going to do anything?" she asked, a bit irritated. Naruto narrowed his eyes and unfolded his hands and started walking towards her. "How hard is it to destroy this armor?" he asked, and suddenly stopped in his tracks. The girl scoffed and took a fighting stance. "You will have to find out yourself, of course, if you can," she said arrogantly, making the blonde smirk. "I intend to," he said, and suddenly his expression turned into fully serious. "Don't blink or you're gonna miss it," he stated, making her wary. Up in the Kage booth, both Reikage and Kazekage gasped as they heard the blonde say this. Hiruzen turned to them and asked what happened. It was the same phrase his father said before using the Hiraishin against a legion of Iwanins, Kazekage said bitterly. Everyone turned to see what the last Namikaze would do. "Come, aren't you going to do anything?" she asked, and was about to rush Naruto. But then everyone in the arena felt the large output of chakra. Suddenly Naruto disappeared and appeared again in front of Nariko with a Rasengan in his right palm. Before the girl could move, the Konoha Chunin shoved his jutsu into her torso, reaping her armor and sending her into one of the station walls. The proctor ran to her to check her pulse and sighed when she was only unconscious. Before he could announce the blonde the winner, they all heard the blonde to groan. "Damn, Using a substitution at this speed without any hand seals, and with a kunai surely puts a strain on chakra coils, he said, and turned back to where he was standing. Everyone in the audience looked to the same place, and indeed, they saw a kunai there. Man, I am lucky that I left it there in the last fight, he said with a laugh. Practically everyone could hear the IWA and Kumo ninja sign in relief after hearing that it wasn't the dreaded jutsu of the Yondaime Hokage. Winner, Naruto of Konoha. The proctor said. They made 5 minutes of pause between the last match, and after the break was the fight that everyone was waiting for. Namikaze Naruto versus Hyuga. Begin. For a few tense moments, there was an absolute silence until both of the fighters rushed at each other and met in the middle of the arena. The two engaged in a heated taijutsu fight, which for a civilian was nothing more than two blurs, but an experienced shinobi saw that the two launched punches and kicks after blocks and dodges. Naruto blocked a palm strike to his shoulder and launched a roundhouse kick, which KO blocked with a raised knee. The Hyuga then countered with a double palm strike to Naruto's shoulder by the boy dropped low and tried a sweep kick. The Hyuga jumped over it and launched and sidekick to Naruto, who blocked with both hands. The Namikaze feinted a right hook, but at the moment he was about to hit, he placed his hand on the ground and made a raising kick to KO's unguarded chin. A second before the attack could hit, Ko started to spin and expel chakra from his tenketsu. A dome of chakra surrounded him and shot Naruto back. Hakusho Kaiten. The blonde genin rightened himself in the air and landed in a crouch. Soon the dome vanished, showing a smirking Ko. Give up. This is the Hyuga clan's ultimate defense. There is no way to get through it, the Hyuga boasted, making the blonde to scoff. So you are so sure that no attack can penetrate Kaiten? The blonde asked, and after a nod, he continued with a smirk. Then let's make a wager. Let me use one jutsu to try to get through your defense, and I fail, I will forfeit. What do you say? The blonde asked and laughed inwardly when he saw the Hyuga to nod with an arrogant smirk. Bring it, he pale-eyed ninja said, and prepared himself. Naruto looked over to the Kage booth and grinned. He then proceeds to flex his right shoulder and breathed out. Naruto went through 4 hand seals at a slow pace, and when he finished with the monkey seal, he caught his right wrist with his left hand and started to push chakra into the palm. A second later, everyone in the arena could see crimson lighting form in Naruto's hand. The lighting started to dance around his hand, but everyone could see that Naruto had full control over it. If the color would be blue, many would think that it was the Raikiri. Suzaku, the blonde said, and rushed at the Hyuga, who started to spin. Kaiten. Shuriken. The two jutsu clashed for domination for a few seconds until Naruto's crimson blade easily cut through the chakra and impaled the Hyuga deep into his right shoulder. The Hyuga cried out in pain, but before he could do anything, Naruto hit him in the back of the neck and ripped his arm from the Hyuga's shoulder. Winner, Namikaze Naruto. Chapter 7, Promotions. Winner, Namikaze Naruto. The crowd erupted into cheers as everyone in the stadium started to applaud for the blonde, who grinned and waved to the audience. Naruto turned then to the 4 leaders and gave a respectful bow to them before exiting the arena. As soon as he entered the locker room, he was greeted with Shursui, Itachi, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Temari. Up in the Kage booth, the 4 leaders were talking with one another about the blonde genin. Crimson Blade, huh? That Kazekage mused as he watched the blonde bow and leave the arena. Seeing Inoki so inspired by the technique, Hiruzen couldn't help but smirk slightly. Exactly, it took only 3 weeks for young Naruto to create this jutsu, the old monkey summoner said. Of course, he knew that it was the time that Naruto needed with shadow clones, but the Sandaime Kazekage didn't need to know this, right? The Jinton user looked wide-eyes at the back of the retreating blonde as he thought to himself. Interesting, every time I hear about the boy, he is even more interesting, the old man said himself as a cruel smirk found way on his face. Of course, no other Kage saw the smirk. HN, how strong is the jutsu Hokagedono? A asked with a grin as he for a moment saw Minato instead of Naruto. The Yondaime Raikage couldn't help but grin as he saw the blonde. He was so similar to Minato that it was scary. Besides, he was strong, very strong for his age. He dare say that stronger than Minato was at his age. If the young Namikaze would be gaining strength as he does now, Then in a few years, he would be a worthy rival for A. The thought of having another rivalry like the one with Minato made the Raikage grin with glee. Naruto-kun and Kakashikin stated that it was stronger than Chidori, which is an A-rank jutsu, but it is not an S-rank technique yet. They both told me that it was a high A-rank jutsu, and Naruto has already a few theories about how to improve this technique to an S-rank level, the old monkey said proudly. Raza, who until now was quietly hummed softly. The boy got strong, very strong. An interesting boy he is, a true prodigy, the red-haired Kage muttered as various plans created in his mind. Temari and he are relatively close. Maybe I will be able to schedule a training trip for the two of them. It would benefit not only Temari but also the alliance, showing that we trust each other enough to send our ninja to train together. The Yondaime Kazekage mused in his mind. Locker room. Good job, Naruto. The blonde heard his godfather voice as the white-haired sage hit the boy on the back, causing the blonde to stumble forward. The toad sage laughed, seeing the young Namikaze glare at him. Naruto, so that was what you hid from us. That jutsu was badass. The older Uchiha from his team stated with a grin while congratulating his teammate. Congratulations, Naruto-kun, Temari said and gave the blonde a hug, making the said blonde to blush and stutter his thanks. Unbeknown to the two, Jiraiya and Tsunade threw each other a glance. All right, I think that a celebration is in order, don't you think? Tsunade asked rhetorically, and a few minutes later the group of 7 left the arena, going towards the Ichiraku Ramen to celebrate Naruto's victory at the tournament. Somewhere on the road, they also met up with Kakashi, Guy, Asuma, and Kurenai. The group spends some time at the ramen bar, eating, talking, and relaxing, but of course, all that is good must come to an end, so the evening came and everyone had to go back to their usual lives. Kakashi went back to his home to read his books, Jiraiya went to peek at hot springs, Tsunade went for her night shift at the hospital, Guy ran out shouting something about power of youth. Asuma and Kurenai went to a bar to meet their other friends, while Itachi and Shursui went back to the Uchiha compound to train some. Naruto would normally go with them, but he saw that Temari would be left alone, so he decided to spend time with her since he didn't know when she would go back home to Suna. So when the two of them were alone, the blonde Chunin invited Temari over to him. The two spend the whole evening either watching TV or playing together while eating various snacks that Naruto had at home. After what seemed like hours of playing together, the two decided to watch one last move before going to sleep, but because of the comfortable sofa they were sitting on, or maybe because the comfortable position the two were, with the two cuddlings together, the two blondes fell asleep. This was also the position in Anbu, who was supposed to fetch them, found the two in. Of course, the Anbu would be someone who would know Naruto or Temari. As Kakashi watched the two blondes cuddle, he couldn't help but let out a quiet perverted giggle and take a quick picture. A great blackmail material. You're the guy, Kakashi, he thought, and giggled once more before waking the two kids. The silver-haired Anbu shook the two kids by their shoulders, waking the two. Wakey, wakey, kids, Kakashi said, but his hand was slapped back by Temari, who hugged Naruto like a teddy bear. After seeing the two in this position, the teenage Anbu couldn't help but take another photo. Oh yes, you sure are the guy, Kakashi, the Sharingan user mused in his head before sighing. I hate to wake you up, but Hokage-sama and Kazekage-sama have requested the two, he said and made 3 hand seals. So wake up. Suetun, wake the hell up Jutsu. Kakashi spat out a stream of cold, very cold water at the two kids, waking them and making them shriek. Kakashi-ni, you bastard. The young Chunin shouted as he jumped up and stuck to the ceiling to avoid the stream of water. Ga, I am awake now. Temari cried out and jumped behind the sofa to find cover from the cold water. Now, that finally both of you are awake, Hokage-sama and Kazekage-sama have requested the two of you in the Hokage office in 30 minutes. The silver-haired Jonin said and used Shunshin when a barrage of shuriken flew at him from the ceiling. After seeing that his older brother figure is away, the blonde Chunin jumped from the ceiling and landed next to Temari. Sorry, Tamarican, I hate it when he does it. Let's get prepared. We need to be in Hokage-sama's office in 20 minutes, the blue-eyed boy said, and was about to go upstairs to get some clothes when Temari stopped him. The blonde boy turned around and saw that his fellow blonde was blushing and looking down. Something wrong, Tamarican? He asked. Well, I am a bit hungry, but I am bad at cooking. Can you make breakfast? She asked, still looking down. Naruto looked at her strangely, and then shrugged and turned to the kitchen. Sure, Tamarican, the breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes, the last Namikaze said, and went to prepare some food. The tea-lead girl looked at him for a moment and then muttered something about everyone doing what she wanted with a grin. 30 minutes later, Hokage office. After the two ate breakfast, the two blondes went to the Hokage office where they were supposed to meet with Raza and Hiruzen. When the two kids entered the office, they saw both Kages sitting and drinking tea. When Hiruzen lifted his gaze to the door, he saw Naruto clad only in his black long-sleeved shirt and black pants, and Temari wearing a teal-green kimono with a flower design on it. Ah, young Naruto, young Temari, how good that you two came. We have some things to discuss, Hiruzen said with a grandfatherly smile as the two blondes stood in front of him and Raza. First thing is that I want to congratulate you, Namikaze Naruto, on winning the Chunin exams tournament and being promoted to the rank of Chunin. Do you accept the promotion? The old monkey asked as Naruto bowed to him with a smile. Thank you, Hokage-sama. I accept, the fresh Chunin said, and put his new Chunin vest over his black shirt. Naruto then looked at the Sarutobi when he saw the old man hand him a black-covered book. What is it, Hokage-sama? The boy asked as he took the book. That is the newest released bingo book, page 420, the old man said. It took a sip of his tea. The blue-eyed boy opened the book and started to read, while Temari looked over his shoulder. Bingo book entry 8639. Name, Namikaze Naruto. Nicknames, Naruto of the Crimson Blade. Village, Konohagakure. Rank, Chunin. Gender, male. Age, 6. Eye color, blue. Hair color, golden blonde. Appearance, usually wears black outfits with a red haori with black flames. Relatives, Namikaze Minato, father, Namikaze Maki Kushina, mother, Jiraiya of the Sannin, godfather, Senju Tsunade, godmother. Abilities. Ninjutsu, showed significant skill in this art. Has huge chakra reserves for someone his age. Chunin level. Taijutsu, uses kunai with his taijutsu fights. Faster than most Chunin and some Jonin. Jonin level. Jinjutsu, unknown, showed great chakra control. Fuinjutsu, unknown. Stay cautious. Kenjutsu, unknown. Known elements, Raitun, Suitun. Threat, crank. Bounty, IWA, 1 foot 200,000 dead, 1 500,000 alive. Note, this little midget literally cut through a dome of pure, rotating chakra, and then cut right into a Hyuga's shoulder, knocked him out, and then walk as nothing happened. Wow, Naruto said after reading his own entry in the book. I am worth over an S-ranked mission, he said and turned to the Sandaime Hokage. Nah, Hokage-sama, how big is your bounty? Naruto asked, making the old man chuckle and lean back in his seat. My bounty is worth 150-foot 000,000 Rio, he said, and started to laugh when he saw Naruto's and Temari's faces. As good as talking with you is, we have some more matters we have to talk about, he said, making Naruto adopt his ninja mask. Naruto, there is no easy way to tell you this, but there will be no more Team Shusui, Hiruzen said, and watched as a few emotions flew through Naruto's face. Finally, he asked. Why? The blonde questioned. Shusui will be joining ENBU next week, and Itachi has to join the Uchiha police force like every Uchiha for at least a year, the old monkey summoner answered, and watched as Naruto's eyes widened and then returned to their normal proportions. What about me, Hokage-sama? The last Namikaze asked his leader, making the man walk over to his desk and take out a scroll. Chunin Namikaze Naruto, I have a long-term S-ranked mission which only you will be able to fulfill. You will be given more information if you accept. Then do you accept the mission? The Sandaime Hokage said in his business voice, making sure that Naruto understood the importance of this mission. The blonde in question nodded his head without hesitation. I accept, Hokage-sama, Naruto said and watched as a grin formed on Hiruzen's face. Very well. You will be going on a 1-year training trip with Hatake Kakashi and Sabaku no Temari. Jiraiya will also drop from time to time. You will travel around Fire Country and train under Kakashi's tutelage, and after a year you will come back, the old monkey said, making Naruto look at him with wide eyes and mouth agape. Huh.